they get to the type of things that like, for all x, if x has all of these characteristics in this type of specific location, then that type of thing is wrong. And so they're not as generic as saying like murder is wrong per se, but that they get really fine grained and there are a lot of them. Okay. And that whenever a particular thing instantiates those universals, then those things are wrong because they instantiate this universal that kind of exists in this form.
What thing instantiates those universals? What
So
would
so
that
like an
thing be?
instantiation. So an instantiation would be something like uh so let's take the example of abortion, right? So if you're a Platonist and you think that abortion is wrong, you would say something like, well, this is again, this is actually misleading. Okay, so it's not like, again, it's like, if you were to provide an analysis for an applied ethical issue, oftentimes that applied ethical issue would be answerable to some kind of normative theory, and the normative theory would answer the question. This type of question about like what makes something like wrong or right in some kind of grandiose sense, um, this is a question about ontological grounding. So
Yeah, no.
I
So
don't think
let me
that you don't
hold on.
really answer, you
Let
don't
me
answer
clarify
applied
again.
ethical
Let me
questions with
clarify
like
again,
meta ethics.
Roger. So here we go again, Roger. I think I was very clear. So what you're saying is that, there's this group of people, we can call them Platonists or whatever you want. There's this group of people and they came up with this little scheme and they all agree. Okay? Well, but there's another group of people that came up with another scheme and they all agreed. And we're
Yeah.
back to the dilemma.
No,
There is
that's
a
not
moral
really an
dilemma.
issue. That's not an
Can I
There
issue
is a
make
for
an
moral.
Platonists.
appointment?
It is
Can I make an
literally,
appointment
and it
for
is
like 10
literally
or
an
15
issue.
minutes from
No,
now? Is it
it's not. Like, I'm
possible
telling
that I could
you.
say something in like 10 or 15 minutes? I mean,
You
I
see,
don't know how long this is going
I'm
to go
hearing
on.
I'm hearing a
I
whole
don't
lot
have
of
all
talking,
day.
and we're not
Can I
really.
possibly, is there a
Yeah,
time when I
don't
could actually say something?
look. Hold on. Y'all not gonna come over here and just start over talking, okay? But again, you're not really getting to anything, Roger. You're just sort of constantly talking around the issue. Now, you believe that these are grounded in abstract objects. Okay, fine. I'm asking you, how do we precisely determine what these are? And you're not just looking at these abstracts and making guesswork about what the ethics are.
You guys all just
It
want me
sounds
to
like the
go away,
abstract
or
object is just
will
like
I
some
be able to
imaginary
talk
thing.
Why
at
don't
some
you
point?
shut up,
Roger,
dude? I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Roger.
it sounds like he just imagines it. That's the abstract object. Is the imagination.
No,
You just
that's
tell
not
Roger
really.
to shut up and then say you were talking to Roger?
No,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, whatever. This is a mess.
It's ridiculous. Is
Okay. So, hang on. Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna come up in my room acting a fool.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. So if you're gonna ask, yeah, the exact nature, that the forms take, or how do we know that they exist? These are
No,
specific.
final reference point.
Or,
The final reference. That's what we're looking for. The
yeah,
ultimate
the final
standard.
reference point would
Is
be.
it
I mean, okay, yeah, I could answer
individual?
your
Is it
question if you're
society?
gonna.
Is it a group of people that call themselves Platonists? I mean, I'm just looking for the final reference point.
Right. I think that you're
Yeah.
confused. I mean,
No, I'm just looking for the final reference
the
point.
final reference point, in your words, would
We're not
be.
talking about my world. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just looking
Fine.
for
Then
the final
no,
reference
but
point.
like when I
What is
explain it in my
point?
words, you kind of get confused, and then you appeal to moral disagreement as if that would refute Platonism, and
Yeah,
that's
so
really not a
is it,
refutation of
so hold
Platonism.
on. So what you're saying is a group of people is the final reference point,
No.
and then you call them Platonists? Is that what it
No.
is?
oh,
Not
so
at
the people don't
all.
decide.
What is it?
You're literally
So,
not tracking. Like I
so,
think
Yeah,
that
so,
you're
I'm
really
so,
confused.
down all the way.
so there's a realm that's independent of humans. That's the final reference point.
Yeah.
These Platonic objects, whatever they are.
Yes.
Do you know what the Platonic objects are, or are they just a mystery?
I mean, we we generally know, I would say, some of them. I don't do we know all of them? Probably not.
How do
Because
you know
there's
one of them?
yeah, this is a good question. You
One
could
of them.
probably say that intuition plays some role. The process of dialectic plays some kind of role in the
Whose
existence of
intuition?
Platonic objects.
Whose intuition? Charles Manson's intuition?
Again, I mean, I think that the idea that look, it's very easy if we're going to talk if you want to talk about Platonism per se. I mean, we don't have to restrict it necessarily to to moral Platonism. I mean, the case is very easy to make in the case, let's say, of mathematical Platonism. I mean,
So math is the final reference point?
who?
Well, I don't know. I'm just still waiting. You said intuition. You intuit them, right?
Um,
I asked you whose intuition. What about Jeffrey Dahmer?
okay, look, this is like a little bit far afield. Like, I guess all I'm trying to say is that, with
I
respect,
intuit.
listen, with respect to, like, the final I think that maybe because we're speaking in moral terms, maybe you're getting confused. Basically, what the idea is with respect to, like, the Platonic, let's say, hunch, uh, is that you
It's a hunch.
have these things, and I'll use an indispensability argument, right? So, I mean, and again, like, moral Platonism is not necessarily something I study professionally. Like, I'm more of an expert on other things, but in mathematical Platonism, you say things like, look, we assume the existence of what our best theories quantify over. Our best theories
According to who?
quantify over mathematical
Wait.
objects.
Who's best theories? You're using all of the. You're just. It seems like you're just going totally circular.
Do you know what circular means?
Well, who's a best theory according to who? Because I could literally say the same thing. Hey, look, abortion's bad because I
I was
intuit it,
talking about
and,
math.
it's the best thing.
I was talking about math.
Okay.
No, in this whole exercise, I haven't heard the precise identification of any of these abstracts at all. You're just doing a whole lot of verbal. Look, you're giving us a lot of verbal sort of fluff and filler here. You're not being precise at all.
Well, okay, I mean, like, what all I'm trying to say is that these Platonic forms serve in some kind of grounding relation. The exact nature of the forms, it might be opaque, and I'm willing to admit that it's a difficult problem, and I don't necessarily have all the answers to that. I don't want to claim that I do. But with respect to, where the objective resting point is, I would say that that's what it is. Regardless of whether or not I know the precise nature of it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So
That would be to confuse
ultimately,
That's not the
epistemology with
question.
ontology.
so ultimately, your appeal to ethics about any argument you make on the abortion topic is based on I don't know. That's what you just told us.
That is completely wrong.
No, he's saying that his whole position on abortion is based on something that's objective that I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that you do know and can identify precisely and can tell us. But if you can't precisely identify it and tell us, then you would have to admit that you don't know.
And so A is moral
So either you
from
know
one
or you
group, and
don't.
A
Which
is
is
not moral.
it? And if you know, precisely tell us what the Platonic objects are, and how do you identify them and adjudicate them with ethics like abortion permissible.
The problem is, Roger, is that
No, the
you
the
acknowledge
arguments.
you
No, I think that
acknowledge that there is this objective moral thing out there, but your answer is that you don't know. Well, I'm telling you that we do know. So on what grounds can you disagree since you don't know?
look. No, I think that. First of all, I don't think. Okay, there's a lot of things that I think about this, but one of them is to say that the arguments that are proffered in favor of the ethical permissibility of abortion are sound, independent of your meta-ethical, your exact meta-ethical framework. because the premises don't refer to some kind of like specific version of moral realism, let's say. So I don't think that that's an issue. I mean, the premises are true irrespective, and the truth of the premises guarantees the truth of the conclusion. So if you're going to take the kind of argument that I give, it doesn't matter. If a kind of like rights-based normative ethical theory is right pro tanto in that kind of respect, you'll generate the kind of result that I'm talking about, number one. Number two, when you begin to say, oh, well, you don't know, let's say, the specific nature of the forms, I mean, that doesn't mean that they don't ground ethics, right? Like, that's the thing, right? So that's to confuse epistemology with ontology, right? Which is a
You're
lot of
just
times
doing
Yeah,
a whole lot of
you're
talking.
literally appealing to some imaginary thing here. You're like, look, there's this thing. I don't know what it is, but I imagine that it's there, but I can't explain it. And it's ultimately subjective because people disagree. But then again, it's
Yeah.
objective.
You
I just can't
totally
explain how.
mischaracterizing it. And anyone who
Yeah,
knows
no, I don't
anything
think
about
I
the
have.
subject,
I
that is the trench coat.
Well, he'd be
But Jesus is
the
the spokesman.
strongest.
Yeah, why can't they just speak out of the middle of the trench coat? His head just
That's
pops
not
out.
how it
Hello.
works.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So-
Why don't you get Vecklin here to explain it to me then?
You know what? Next question
It
is
is
going to
very
be,
simple.
the next question has to be, who did Moses talk to?
Maybe Jesus?
Was that Jesus?
Perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
Was it Jesus
Perhaps.
all the way down, like in the book with Lot and Abraham? Is it just Jesus talking?
So that's actually a real debate, right? About the angel of the Lord, whether the angel of the Lord is or evolved into Jesus.
What, like a Pokemon?
Something like a Pokemon, yeah. Nobody knows. You do have it seems like a bunch of pick and choose Calvinists though around here. Or at least what you would think are not strict adherents as far as predestination and determinism and all that jazz. Well, I just recently watched what's her name? Sabine Hassenfeld. Her video about you don't have free will, but don't worry about it. That's a good video. We were talking about that last night, I think.
are.
No, that's not what.
You
No,
want to
no,
describe
that's
them?
not.
what they are.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Then
I'm
what
not
are they
asking
talking
you
about? You don't
what
want
is an. I'm not asking you what is an abstract object. I'm telling you what are these abstract forms you're alluding to, and which you build your ethics upon.
I've done it multiple times. I mean,
No, you're saying look, I have a car in my garage, and Ton's saying, what car do you have in your garage? And you're saying, well, a car is this four-wheeled thing with a motor.
Exactly. I know what
No,
a car
is it a
is.
Ford? Is it a Chevy? Is it, well, it's got a transmission, and we're like, no, that's like specifically what is this thing?
And I
What is
want
it? What's
and
the
I don't
label
want
on
to
it?
say you're being disingenuous or dishonest, but That's literally what it sounds like or what it comes off as. Now that you precisely understand my question, what are these forms you're talking about, and how do you identify specifically how they connect to your ethic?
That'd be a long. I mean, I could do it briefly, and I think that guy John wanted to come up. I don't know if he's still in the room, but because my food just came. But don't worry, I'm like, I appreciate the conversation, but briefly, and I guess you guys could let John up and then have that conversation. They are objects that exist outside of space time, that exist in, at least in my view, tenselessly. They never began to exist, nor will they cease to exist.
Okay, what are the objects? Are they numbers? Are they propositions?
They
What are
ground the
they?
truth of mathematical statements. They ground the truth of certain propositions. They ground the truth of particular types of moral statements.
Look, man, all I
And
got is that they're
yeah,
abstract objects. I don't even know
yeah.
precisely what category of abstract object you're talking about. Are they numbers? Are they propositions?
You asked
What
me what
are
an
they
abstract object
precisely?
is. You asked me what an abstract
No, I
object
didn't
is.
ask you that. I said multiple times we already know what an abstract object is. I asked you precisely.
No, you didn't.
What?
You said you didn't even know what an abstract object is.
No, I didn't say that.
It's
You're
you
lying.
did. You did
car
say that.
analogy. You're
I
saying
never
you have
said
this
at any
thing,
point I
you're
didn't
saying,
know.
what is it?
You're lying,
You said I
Roger.
didn't even know what it is.
No, dude, he gave you an analogy to explain what I was talking about. I never once said that. Now you're lying. Now you're lying through your teeth. Now, I did not once say I didn't know what an abstract object was. You pointed to these abstract objects in which you are predicating towards, and I was asking you to identify what they are. When I was saying I don't know what you're talking about, it was in reference to these forms you were alluding to,
Yeah, they're probably
specifically
like
what
natural
they
kinds,
are.
or they're probably natural kinds or propositions.
Probably. So might be, maybe.
Well,
But
yeah.
it's objective. It's an objective might be maybe that one person says is true and another one says it's false. We just stir it all up in a big, huge bowl and serve it with some
So
bread.
it's just a bunch of guesswork you're giving us. You're just giving us just fluff and filler and guesswork. You're not giving us anything precise to chew on.
I mean, the modest mind deals in probabilities. I mean, the fact that you guys are so certain about this is disarming. I
I didn't
admit
say
that like
nothing.
there's.
I didn't
I
say
admit
nothing
that
about
I
certainty.
don't know.
I didn't say nothing about certainty. I just asked you to just identify what they are, and you haven't done it.
Well, I'm saying, yeah. I said I'm not exactly sure the exact nature of what they are, epistemologically speaking. They could be natural kinds in the sense that I've heard arguments that they might take the form of natural
So
kinds.
if you can identify precisely what they are, why should we think we're not that? Why should we think you're not doing anything other than engaging in guesswork?
Well, because you can't identify the precise nature of God's mind, and He's beyond all kin, and He's supposed to ground all ethics. So, I mean, like we're in the same. I mean, it's a similar
No, but
kind
you
of
know
boat.
that we're
So
talking.
I don't think that this is.
You
I don't think.
know,
I think this is a stalemate. I don't think that you have a winning hand here.
It's not a stalemate. It's not a stalemate at all, because you know when we talk about where we ground our ethics, and we're talking precisely about God.
Yeah, but do you know the ultimate
hold on,
nature of God's mind?
stop. We can discuss what the nature of what that entails or what that means, but at least we got a specific identifier. Okay, we're talking about God. Okay, good. So when we talk about God, what do we mean that ethics are grounded in God? Then we can have that conversation.
Well, yeah. Do you know the exact nature of
you're not
his
even
mind, what he's
giving
like?
you're not even giving me the specific form you're talking about.
Yeah, but you don't know the specific.
I can give you the exact. I can give you the exact God we're talking about. You can't even give us the exact form you're talking about.
Yeah, see, Roger, the problem is
you're refusing to answer questions
there's
about.
these
It's a
objective
stalemate.
things, these abstract.
It's not a stalemate at all.
Out there in the ether, and
no,
we're
it's not. It's not even close to being a stalemate.
You have some God. You have a God that is fundamentally. We cannot know his mind.
Yeah, I just moved into the audience because he's just talking trash right now. The thing is, Roger, is you
Yeah,
can
this is
identify these objective things, this object that's out in the ether. When we ask you to specify what that thing is, we're going to point to God, and you're going to point to what? Okay.
like he can
So
just look. The issue is not that we cannot have a conversation about what grounding them in God means. Like that's fine. I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But the issue is, at least he knows what precise point we're talking about. We can detail go into the specifics of the precise point and really hash that out. But he's not even giving us a precise point. He's just giving us these vague forms that aren't identifiable to anything. What form?
yeah, I mean, we would agree with Roger on most of the stuff that he was saying, because he says, well, we can kind of intuit these things. Well, yeah, because God says that he wrote his moral law in our heart, and he's saying, well, there are these objective things, and we're saying, yeah, God is the standard that is outside of the system, and he sets that standard, makes these things objective in a way that humans can't agree. And so, but Roger can't point to God, so he just points to this just utterance of nonsense. So all these things we're going to
These
agree, but when it comes,
unidentified forms that we don't even know what the forms are. We don't even know what the forms are. We don't even know how he even identified these forms, or how he would even be able to adjudicate that they even exist at all.
go ahead, John.
Because anyone can take some sort of unstated or unspecified point and call it, well, this form identifies that rape is justified. This form identifies that rape is not justified. Like, what are we even doing when we just use this sort of epistemology that he does? All right, I'm done.
Well, thank you guys, and props for surprising me. I honestly didn't expect that you would bring me back up on stage, so I appreciate that. I was just going to take an alternate route. Well, first of all, this is not really why I came on stage originally, so I hope I can get to the one thing I did want to say. But with regard to the last thing, I'll just say, in my personal opinion, you can't ground morals in anything other than popular consensus, and so things like murder and rape, there's a pretty strong consensus, and those consensuses are reflected in laws,
So
and
just let me
ultimately
ask
it's
you
the laws.
a clarification question, John. So you're saying that the final reference point is the consensus. That's what you're saying.
Well, I don't know if I would call it a reference point, but I do think it is certainly what determines whether abortion is legal
Well,
or not.
it's a
So
reference point or it's
so
not.
wait, so hold on. So John, let's see it. Let's just do a consistency check, right? So Martin Luther King was wrong for going against the consensus, right? He was wrong.
No, it's never wrong to go against the consensus. You can,
Now
people are
you're
free.
contradicting yourself. You see, you're saying on one hand, you're saying that the consensus determines this moral framework. But if that's true, then you violate your own criteria of appealing to the consensus when you disagree with the consensus. You have no grounds to. Your foundation is the consensus. But when the consensus does something you don't like, on what grounds now can you disagree?
You can always
How do you
disagree.
disagree with that?
You can
How
always
on
people
what grounds can you disagree?
because you disagree. It's as simple as that. Look,
So
I
yeah,
yeah.
well, hold on. So look, this is I'm asking you to be consistent. So the problem that you're in now is when you say that the consensus makes these moral laws, but then when I give you an example of give something that we would all disagree with, I'm not trying to suggest that you wouldn't disagree with that. Then you pivot to the individual. So now so the consensus didn't really work for you. Now you're saying it's the individual, right? So so when the individual, like Jeffrey Dahmer, decides that it's morally justified to eat people, now on what grounds would you disagree?
Yeah, well, I'm not really. Once again, people can disagree with anything. I don't really claim that it's
That's not the
consensus
question.
that. Well, okay, sorry.
Or,
Go ahead and ask again.
no, that's not the question. Your ultimate authority is going to be something. At first, you said it was society. I give you a scenario, and then you contradicted yourself by appealing to the individual. You said, "Well, the individual can disagree with this ultimate authority." So now the
Yeah,
individual becomes the ultimate authority. So when the individual decides to eat people, now on what grounds can you disagree? How can you
yeah,
disagree with that?
because it's against the law. I mean, somebody eats people, it's against the
So,
law. The
Back to the
wait, now
consensus.
you're going
Back
back to
again.
the consensus again. So
That's
so
already
the
been
law is the
addressed.
ultimate authority now? The law
listen.
is the ultimate authority? So when the so again when the law justifies the thing that Martin Luther King was objecting to, that was legal.
Right.
So the law now, so you've gone from society to the individual and then kind of back to society by the law. So
Society changes its
how can
mind.
you object to the law?
Yeah, we had a
Society changes its
conversation.
mind.
We had the conversation the other day about a mother who was upset about the Dominican Republic law because apparently the laws in her country forbid her daughter from getting the quote unquote medical care that she needed for her life to have been saved. And she believes that if her daughter had access to abortion, that her life would have been saved. So in the Dominican Republic, the laws there are that abortion is not allowable in any circumstance. Do you agree with the laws in the Dominican Republic, John?
No,
Okay, great. So we have something to look at here to where the law doesn't establish what's right and wrong. So
I didn't say that.
good,
The,
good.
the
So
law
so if you so
establishes what's
right.
legal. The law establishes what's legal and what's not legal.
All
And,
right.
and societies change their
Are,
mind
are,
about
are
that.
we just having a legal conversation or are we talking
Yeah,
about ethics?
that's all I'm having. Can I move on to the thing I really wanted to talk about?
All right. All right. So if you're only talking about what's legal, then you're just stipulating what's trivially true. But we're not interested in that question. We already know that what
That's
the
fine.
law, yeah, obviously, the law is going to say you can't jaywalk. The law is going to say you got to pay your taxes, and if you don't, you can get in trouble. That's trivially true. So I don't really see what productive value it brings this conversation to just talking about what the law is.
That's fine. Can I move on to the thing I really wanted to talk about?
Is it related to this topic?
Yeah. Oh, it's in fact it's more related to the topic of the room.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Was about abortion specifically. And I guess we've had a conversation before, and I praised you, Tone, for the consistency of your view that a woman who has an abortion should suffer the same penalty that any first degree premeditated murder suffers, right up to and including execution
Oh
or
yeah,
life
I remember
imprisonment.
that. Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I really do. I think that if you think that abortion is murder, then you must be consistent and treat it as murder. And I applaud, I'm not kidding when I say this, I applaud your consistency on that. So I
I
guess
appreciate that.
my question really is about all of the laws that are being created that will apply those penalties to the person who performs the abortion, but kind of studiously, I think in most cases, leave the mother out. Aren't you a little outraged by the fact that the mother gets a pass in most cases?
I take a different view than many people who would identify as pro-life on my side. So when you allude to those sorts of laws, I think that is a serious problem because there are people who try to make it seem like, well, you can't include the mother in these sort of categories because of the fact that it was the a doctor who performed the abortion, and it's the doctor who's presumably misleading these people and doing this type of thing, and they're sort of trying to play these sorts of mental gymnastics to make it seem like the mother doesn't know what they're doing or they can't be responsible. They play these flimsy sort of um, uh, philosophical justifications to me that don't stand on any coherent grounds whatsoever. Because I think if you or at the very least, even before then, but at the very least minimum, if you're an 18 plus adult, there's no way you don't know you're killing a baby. And none of these sorts of justifications would work if you were killing newborn babies or anything like that. They wouldn't use these arguments for newborn babies. But for some reason, the mother gets a pass when it comes to the baby being in the womb. So I do think those laws that you talk about are a problem if they try to take her out of them as being someone who can be charged.
Right. Once again, I really major props, Tone. And once again, I'm genuinely serious. That's a kind of consistency that I rarely hear, and it's completely justified. A person who has your opinion, I couldn't disagree more, but I totally respect the consistency of your opinion. But I do think that I know why those laws leave the mother out. And I wonder if you have an idea what my suggested reason might be.
There's some sort of legal term that Ben Shapiro brought up. I can't remember what it is that they use to say, well, I can't remember what legal term it was, but it has to do with this idea that you can't really hold the mother accountable for um, that sort of an action because it doesn't meet a particular standard. And I have to look at what the term is he used.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who support abortion being illegal, resort to things like that. But that this is just my opinion. But my opinion is that the main reason they really don't want to put the mother in there is that it would horrify the general public.
Oh, yeah. Not only that, it would horrify the general public, and it would emotionally alienate a lot of the people on their side of the topic, and they
Right.
don't want to take that sort of a stand.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
100% agree.
I think we're done here. And once again, I really appreciate it. I mean, I think I applaud the consistency. I wonder if everybody else in the room, well, I know there's some people in the room who don't agree, but I wonder if all of your friends redefine, uh, oh, I guess it's just redefine and Nick maybe. I wonder if they agree.
Well, if they
And
were
Matt.
to, in the event they disagreed, I'd had that conversation with them. But ultimately, we're going to have to come from a biblical framework as Christians because here's the bottom line: for the very same things that they think, well, I'm not saying they think one way or the other, but presuming that they think women shouldn't be held accountable for these in our frame of reference in this particular time period, God is certainly going to hold everyone, including the women who are involved in these abortions, accountable. So my standard is this: if God doesn't hold them accountable, I mean, if God does hold them accountable, then there's no reason why we shouldn't either. And any flimsy argument to get out of that is just completely that antithetical to Scripture.
Okay, well that's great. I really would be interested in hearing what Redefine and Nick's have to say, but I'm done and I would yield the floor.
If I may say a couple of things, first of
Okay,
all,
sure, go
hi to
ahead.
everyone. Then on the issue of morality, I was going to come to John's defense in that morality is both individual and consensual, or based on consensus, in that we individually decide what is right or wrong and base our actions based on that, and will judge others individually based on that. But if we want to prohibit someone from doing what we consider to be immoral, then that's a consensus, and that is done through laws. So we don't have any way of forcing people not to lie, even though we can accept that's an immoral thing to do, but it's only in certain situations that the law prevents you from lying, like lying under oath. So to prevent someone from doing something illegal, you have to appeal to law and the societal consensus, but how you view the world, that's completely individual based.
It seems like you're just talking about the practical application of things, not necessarily the ethical imperatives of things.
Ethics is individual, right? So I can come up with any ethical system that works for me. But if I can implement that ethical system in the society at large, then I have to see what the consensus of the society is through its laws. So, for example, I personally may think murder is a perfectly fine thing to do, and it's not unethical or immoral at all. But I can't apply that because laws prevent me. And that's the society's consensus on morality that doesn't allow me to commit murder.
If someone gets enjoyment out of chopping babies up with chainsaws, if they get enjoyment out of that, do you believe that something like that is wrong, independent of whether anyone says so or not?
Personally, yes, I think it's wrong.
So
But
it
the
would be
person
wrong.
who's
It would
chopping up
be
the babies,
so
but
you
the
believe
person
it's
who's chopping up the babies doesn't think.
hold on. Right, fine.
Your
Fine.
opinion wasn't asked, Sam. No one asked what you think is right or wrong. We're looking for that final reference point.
I asked you, do you think that's wrong,
Oh,
independent of what?
actually, he asked me what I
Wait.
thought was right or wrong, so I beg to differ.
Not quite. I asked
You
you.
said, do you think if someone chops up babies, that is wrong or right? And I told you what I think.
That's not quite what I asked. I asked you.
So please ask your question again, because I misunderstood it.
I said, the person who does that and gets joy out of it, do you think something like that would be wrong, independent of what anyone thinks, including yourself?
Do I think? So are you asking me what I think?
Would that be wrong, independent of whether you or anyone else said so or not?
No.
But he did say, do you think so, Sam?
Right. So you do believe that that being wrong is dependent on one or more persons.
Each individual decides for
one
themselves.
or more. So chopping babies up for fun is wrong because one or more people say so.
No. Chopping babies, in my opinion, is wrong because I think it's wrong.
Well, that would meet my dichotomy, sir. It would be.
Can I finish, please?
I don't think you're listening to what I'm saying. Go ahead, but you need to listen more carefully to what I'm saying.
You're asking me if I think chopping up babies is wrong if one or more people think it's wrong. That's what you're asking.
I'm saying,
right? Or
either it's going to be wrong independent of what anyone thinks or not. Which is it?
It is wrong because someone thinks it's wrong. Its wrongness is not independent of what people think.
Right. And we say people, does one or more than one person decide that?
Are we talking about morality or are we talking about legality? Morality?
Well, right now we're talking about the ethics of the issue. Like ethically,
a moral wrong.
Yeah. So someone gets enjoyment out of chopping babies up. Does one or more person decide that that's wrong, morally speaking? One or more.
Okay. So one or more people thought that was wrong.
Does one or more persons decide that that's wrong or not wrong?
Decide for whom? For what? For what purpose is that decision being made?
I'm saying if it's morally wrong to do that, is that decided by one or more persons?
Whether it's morally wrong is decided by each individual for that individual. Okay. I cannot decide for you.
So let people out of prison.
Oh, okay, so in other words, if an individual thinks Okay, let's move into the ought category. Do you
Uh-huh.
believe the individual who chops a baby up with a chainsaw for the enjoyment of it should be punished for that?
Yes. Yes, should be.
Okay, and the punishment for that is the punishment for that adjudicated by persons or not?
No, it's adjudicated by the government, by the
The,
society at large.
the government is decided by one or more persons, sir.
It is society. Okay, yes. Then it is decided by individuals who legislated the laws.
Yeah, what government?
What do you mean, what government? The government that we have.
I mean, there's a lot of different governments,
Yeah.
right?
So each
Yeah.
so each government decides what can or cannot be done within its jurisdiction.
So
Yeah,
now,
so Martin Luther King was wrong, right? Martin
No,
Luther King
no,
was
no, no, no,
wrong,
no, no,
right?
no, no, no,
Wait.
no,
Let's not
no,
even go.
no. Don't
Let's not even go down.
conflate things.
Let's not go down that right now.
Don't
Hold on.
conflate things. That was the wrong thing to say.
Don't ignore that for now.
Okay.
So
Happily.
we got to the legal aspect of it all. Now let's get your view on this. The Dominican Republic bans abortion in all circumstances. Do you agree with their laws?
Well, what do you mean? Do I agree with them? Do I think that's a good law?
Yeah. Do you think it's
No,
a good law to?
I don't think that's a good law. No.
Right. Now, so you don't think how can I put this? So your basis for objecting to something wouldn't be based solely within the law by itself, then, right?
I don't understand the question.
It doesn't matter if the law says so or not. It's not necessarily the final court of appeal. You might point to the law, but it's not going to be your fundamental basis for why you would object to it. Like the law says,
I would object to it. No,
right.
My personal objection has absolutely nothing to do with the law. It has to do with my own moral framework.
Okay, good. So, if you believe it's bad to ban abortions in every circumstance, why? What is your justification for that?
Because there are some circumstances that banning abortion would be immoral, would be unethical.
Well, name one circumstance why that would be unethical and why.
The 12-year-old child is raped, is impregnated, and is forced to carry the child to full term. That completely ruins that 12-year-old's life forever for no reason at all.
Okay, let me ask you about that. For the 12-year-old, do you believe that? Hold on, let me ask you this first. Do you believe that the actual act of abortion is a medical procedure?
Yes.
And do you believe that the parent or parents of that child decide that medical procedure ultimately, or the 12-year-old child?
Depends on no, because sometimes the father is the.
I said the parents or parents. Do they ultimately decide that the 12-year-old get the procedure, or is it the 12-year-old girl themselves?
It's the 12-year-old themselves, because sometimes it's the father of the child who's the perpetrator. And so if we are asking the child to go back to the person who raped her to get permission for this abortion, that just adds insult to injury.
In other words, if the mother disagrees with that, but the 12-year-old says she wants to get an abortion, it's ultimately up to the 12-year-old girl for the final decision, right?
Yeah, I would think so. That's true.
So in other words, you don't believe this mother has the right to decide a medical procedure over her daughter?
Some cases, no. The mother doesn't have the right to make that decision.
So if a 5-year-old doesn't want to get a shot, does the 5-year-old get to decide that?
Hold on a sec. No, because you changed the premise. You changed.
No, I didn't. It's a medical procedure.
I said in some cases, not in all cases, in some cases, when the situation is this grave and there's the probability that the parents are the perpetrators of this crime, then asking the permission of the parents is not a
Well,
good
the
thing.
mother couldn't have
But for the
been.
5-year-old getting a shot, that's a completely different thing
So if the mother is
because the
not the
parents
sir,
have not
stop,
committed
stop,
a
stop,
crime. No,
stop,
I'm not
stop,
going to stop. You
stop,
stop.
stop. If the mother
Please
is
allow
not
me
the
to finish. Why is it that you can interrupt me anytime you want?
no,
No,
because
really.
I asked
Why
you
is it that I'm
specifically.
not allowed to say
Number
what I
one,
want to say
number one, you're in my
and you're
room.
interrupting me?
Number one, you're in my room. Number two, the mother in this case didn't perpetrate the crime. I told you she simply disagrees. Now, she's not the perpetrator of the crime. So you still believe the 12-year-old can decide that?
How did the 12-year-old get pregnant and why does the mother disagree?
Why does it matter if it's
It
ultimately up to the
matters
12?
quite a bit
If it's ultimately
because
up to the 12-year-old, then it doesn't matter what the mother's opinion is.
if the 12-year-old had consensual sex and due to that she got pregnant,
We're talking about a
then
rape case, sir, not consensual sex.
okay, so this is a rape case. Who committed the rape and why is the mother forcing the child to live with the product of this rape?
Well, here's the deal. If you believe that it's ultimately up to the child, then you'd be for forcing away parental rights of a medical procedure from the parent. So while you're talking about forcing the child to have a baby, you're for forcing away parental rights over medical procedures, at least in this particular instance.
Yes, that is what I'm doing. In this
Right.
particular instance, yes, that's what I'm saying.
So who's to say what medical procedures a parent can or can't decide over their child? It's just
Laws.
totally arbitrary.
No, it's not. Laws will decide that.
I'm asking you about your view. Now you're pointing back to other people's views now when you say laws.
No, because you're asking me who is deciding that, right? If it's completely, if abortion
Ethically,
is,
sir, ethically. I'm
thank you.
not talking about what you think should be represented. Well, obviously, that would ultimately come down to what you may think should be represented in the law. But ethically speaking, you think some procedures can be decided by children medically and some can't, correct?
Yes.
And who determines that in your view? Before it's ever written into the law, who do you think should decide that?
Each individual.
So, do you believe that the individual 5-year-old can decide that they cannot get a shot?
Why are you talking about that? We already
Because it's a
discussed that, and
because it's a medical procedure.
we already
sir.
discussed that, and I told you that medical procedure doesn't fall into the category of medical procedures we're talking about. We're talking
Okay,
about
so
abortion.
the parent is the final arbiter for the 5-year-old getting a shot, right?
Yes.
So explain to me why this medical procedure is something that a parent can decide, but abortion is not.
Because you're putting the responsibility of raising another individual on an individual who is not prepared to have that responsibility. Whereas when you're getting
How do
a
you
shot,
know? How do
all
you
you're
know
doing,
that? How do you know that they're not prepared to have that responsibility? Did you speak to the 12-year-old?
your question is so ridiculous that I'm not going to
No,
answer.
you said they're not prepared to have that responsibility. Did you speak to the 12-year-old?
As I said, your question is so ridiculous, I'm not going to
How is it
answer that.
ridiculous to ask you if you know whether that 12-year-old is prepared? Did you speak to the
Have you
12-year-old,
met a
sir?
12-year-old who was prepared to raise a family?
There's been people who've done it, sir. I'm not saying it's the ideal
More power
situation, but
to
it's
them.
been done.
I'm not talking about exceptions.
Now,
I'm talking
no, but you
about,
said that she is not. How do you
yeah,
know that she's not? Who are you to
because
assume what she can and can't do, or what she's prepared to handle and what she's not prepared to handle.
Because having raised 2 daughters to adulthood and having seen many, many, many 12-year-old girls, I'm of the opinion that from my experience, 12-year-old girls that I have run across do not have the experience and the mental capacity to take on the responsibility of raising a family.
But they have the mental capacity to understand and take on killing a child.
They have the mental capacity and understand that bringing this fetus to term is going to destroy their life. And so abortion becomes an option for them.
Wait a minute. So if they raise a kid, they're not prepared for that, but they have enough understanding to know that raising a kid will destroy their life.
Yes.
At 12 years old.
Yes.
Based on what?
Based on them watching to see what parenthood involves and what a 12-year-old can or cannot handle, or what a 12-year-old is capable of doing. I mean, you put a 10-year-old in front of a car.
Sir, I know people who have had babies around that age, sir, and it didn't destroy their lives. Okay.
Good for you. Good for them.
So who are you to say that a 12-year-old would not be able to handle that? Necessarily so. You don't know that.
Yeah. Hey, Tone, can I?
I am the person who's coming out with my own moral universe. And in my moral universe...
But you're putting your assumptions onto their life, sir. That's what you're doing.
I am not. Yes,
I haven't passed the law. You said
no.
You know that 12-year-old would not be able to handle that. That's what came out of your mouth.
Based on my opinion. But
why does your opinion matter? If there's 12-year-olds who've done it, then how do you know that any 12-year-old that gets raped wouldn't be able to do it?
When did I suggest that everybody should follow my opinion?
I didn't say that, but you said that.
No, you were telling me.
Sir, stop. You said that a 12-year-old is able to get the abortion herself because presumably she would not be able to handle raising a kid. How do you know that?
Listen.
How do you know that, sir?
I answered that question. I said based on me watching my daughters and their friends.
Do you know that? Does she
I answered that question. And now you listen to me. Because
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I have your answer if you listen to me.
Hold on. Should she decide what
Jesus.
Wait a minute. Hold on. If it was your 12-year-old who said she was ready to raise this baby and she was raped, you would say she could have the kid, right?
Yes.
And if she said she wasn't, you would let her get the abortion.
Yes.
So you believe she's mature enough to decide either decision?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if she's mature enough to decide either decision, then you have no grounds to say that any particular 12-year-old who does make the decision to have a baby is not ready to raise it.
Listen, you're conflating.
It follows exactly from what I said. If a 12-year-old who's raped says, I want to have this baby, and you admit out your mouth that she can understand the implications of what that means, then you have no grounds to say that she's not ready.
You're conflating two different things, okay? And
no, it follows logically and necessarily from what you said.
No, it doesn't at all. It doesn't. Because you're committing a fallacy.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You're committing a fallacy. If you can't recognize your fallacy, then go back and study logic.
If she decides,
because you're committing a fallacy.
If she decides to have a baby, does that mean she's ready to raise one? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, then by that same token, if she decides to have an abortion, she's not necessarily ready for the feelings and the implications that comes from that either.
No, that's not true.
Oh, so she's only ready for the implications of having of having
No,
an abortion, but she's not ready
no,
for the implications of having a baby.
no, that is not what I said. This is
No,
why
I'm
I'm saying
asking
you're
you a
committing
question.
fallacies.
It's asking you a question.
Okay,
Now, if she decides, because if you say that doesn't mean she's ready for the consequences of said action, then that can apply to abortion, sir.
okay,
Okay, so what you
and
would
then
do is say that a 12-year-old is mature enough to decide killing her own baby, but it may turn out to be the case that she's not ready to deal with the implications of what that could do to her psyche. She
okay,
may not be
and
ready
then
for
what?
that. She may not be ready for that. But the only thing you
Yeah,
care about is her having the decision. You're not looking at the aftermath or the
no,
ramifications of
no,
it.
that is not at all true. You haven't asked me anything about that, so I don't know how you reached that conclusion. We haven't discussed that not one lick.
Well,
You don't know how I feel about that.
look.
So
The point is, you think because the only thing you've stipulated is that if a 12-year-old who's raped wants to have an abortion or not, then the final decision is hers,
yes,
right? So, but you also admit that even though the final decision is hers, she may not be ready for the implications of that decision either way, correct?
no, not other way. No, and I'm not talking
But
about
only,
all the implications.
but
I
only
didn't talk about implications. I
the
talked about
implicate,
one
sir.
implication.
Okay, so she's
So
only ready for the implications of aborting, but she's not ready for the implications of raising a kid.
that's correct.
How do, based on what can you necessarily deduce that, sir?
Because when you have a kid, you have the responsibility of another individual. But when you decide not to have the kid, you only have your responsibility for yourself. That is, if you have a kid, no amount
That
of
doesn't
therapy you
mean
go to is.
necessarily you're ready for the
Let him
implications
finish.
of having an abortion, because she could regret her decision and it could damage her psychologically, sir. That
Yes,
doesn't mean she's
yes.
ready for it.
Listen, no matter what
Are you
decision
going
she
to ignore that?
makes. No,
Are you
I'm
going to
not.
ignore
I'm
that?
answering. I'm answering you.
If that happens, was she in fact ready to have that decision? If that happens
Do you
to
know
her,
why
sir.
I'm ignoring you? Because you're not letting me answer you. If you
If
let
that
me answer
happens,
you, then I
if
won't be
that
ignoring you.
happens, if it turns out she regrets it, was she ready for the implications if that happens?
You know, this conversation is turning into
If
a
that happens,
soliloquy.
was she ready for the implications if she regrets it and it damaged her psychologically? Was she ready for that, sir?
Thank you
Yeah,
very much
Sam,
for the
if
time
you
you
can't
gave
answer,
me.
hold on, Sam,
Because you're
if you
not allowing me
Sam,
to speak, I'm
Sam, if you
going
can't
to.
answer, hold on, Sam, if you can't answer, we'll just move on because there's other people in the room.
Listen, I'm
Yeah.
trying to answer. The guy doesn't give me time to answer.
But
I
we'll
All
keep
right,
just
I'm
saying,
move
gonna.
be
on if you
quiet.
can't
I
All
answer.
right,
want to
It's
answer, and he
I'm
keeps
gonna ask
interrupting
you.
me.
I'm gonna
What do you
ask you a
mean if you
straight.
can't
I'm gonna
answer? I
ask you a
have the
straight.
answer ready to
I'm gonna
go.
ask you
If
a
you shut
straightforward
up for
question.
one.
I'm gonna
We
ask
can
you a
just move
straightforward
on.
question. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna ask you a straightforward question, and you're gonna have 2 minutes to respond. Now, if a 12-year-old girl, and I'm not gonna interrupt you, but you're gonna have 2 minutes to respond. If a 12-year-old girl gets raped and she decides to have an abortion, but ultimately she regrets it, has psychological damage, and so on. By your logic, was she ready for those implications? Go.
You're on mute, Sam. Clock's ticking. You got about a minute and a half left.
Once he starts talking, his 2 minutes will start, and I won't
All right.
interrupt him.
Here, sorry, I
Did you?
didn't
Did you?
realize I was on mute. I was trying to
Did
be
you?
polite and not
Did you hear my
interrupt
question?
others. Yeah, I was here. I just didn't want
Okay, I'll repeat.
the
I'll repeat it one
noise
more
that
time.
I
I'll
had
repeat it.
interrupt what you were saying.
All right, I'll repeat it one
So,
more time.
no, you don't
Now,
need
if
to repeat it. I know what the question
all right,
was.
repeat back to
So, a
us.
12-year-old who gets raped is psychologically damaged no matter what decision she makes. whether to abort the kid, whether to have the kid, this 12-year-old is going to have major, major, major psychological problems going forward in their lives. So, are we now going to add the stress of the responsibility of caring for another life on top of the psychological stress and psychological damage that she has suffered so far? So I would take the psychological damage off the table because that is basically the same no matter which way you go. So psychological damage is not part of the equation. You have to think about other things.
Well, who says that's adding anything necessarily bad? If she thinks about raising the kid, for her, that can bring healing to her and in doing that. So you have no way to determine
To
if
her,
that's
yeah,
necessary.
absolutely. Absolutely. This is what I'm
Yeah.
arguing the entire time, that these moral questions are individualistic. Each individual should make that for themselves. If the 12-year-old thinks that they have the capacity to raise this child and they don't want to have an abortion, it's fine. Have the kid. Don't have an abortion.
So you think
If you want to have an
12-year-olds are
abortion, not
mature
have the
enough?
kid, that is
12-year-old.
your moral choice. That is,
So
I cannot dictate morality upon you. I can dictate laws on you.
okay. So if so, these children, in your view, are mature enough to decide this. It doesn't matter what we deal with going forward. The only thing you're concerned about is that they're just mature enough to decide the decision right then and there. Correct?
No,
So you are considering what can happen as a result of that decision.
absolutely. Why can't, how can you not?
So if you're considering that, then how can you say that 12-year-olds by themselves should be able to make the final decision?
Because it's their life. I mean, I'm not going to lock the 12-year-old into a room and say, go ahead and decide. The
No, but they
12-year-old
still
seeks
are
counsel,
under. They're still
talks to
under the care of their
others.
parents, sir. They're still under the care of their parents, and the parents have parental rights as well. But you believe that those rights
The question
supersede the
is,
parents.
whether it would be ethically okay for us to punt the question back to the parents if the parents are the perpetrators. Why are we going in circles? Why do I have to
If the
keep
parents
repeating
are the
myself?
perpetrators, then the decision will come down to the law. Okay, decision will come down to the
Yes,
law. It will come down to
yes.
someone else, not necessarily the 12-year-old,
Not
sir.
necessarily. Not necessarily. Unless
Depending
unless
on where
somebody
she lives.
figures it out and reports it, then can you hear
And
me?
even then, and even then, if the law allows the 12-year-old girl to get the abortion, even then, the only reason why she has that is because the law says so. Not necessarily
Yeah.
because there's some sort of right out there. It's just because
No, you're wrong. This is where you're wrong. This
no.
is where you went
Okay,
wrong.
sir. Well, look, if there's no arbitrine standard outside of humans, then you don't have an objective basis to say anything is right or wrong. That's the whole point of this.
Yes, that is true. There is no objective morality. I agree with that. Yes.
So ultimately, your appeals to 12-year-old girls getting abortions or any type of or abortions in general for that matter is ultimately your feelings.
My feeling is that the 12-year-old can decide what the 12-year-old wants to decide, and the morality of the situation is in the hands of that 12-year-old.
So
That is,
it's your feelings that's the justification, not logic, right?
sorry, what?
It's your feelings that's the justifying factor of her having
No,
that view, not
no,
logic.
no, no. No, it is logic. It's absolutely logic. because I
Okay,
set up
so
the logical situation at the very beginning,
what logic
and
says
so you're
so?
not following it.
So who ultimately decides that it's okay for a 12-year-old to get an abortion?
Decide based on what? Based on law or based on morality?
Well, laws ultimately are going to be ensconced on what one's views of ethics are, what one should and should not do.
No, 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 no. That is not true.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is,
Laws,
sir.
no, laws don't have to do with one's view of morality.
That's
Laws have to do with the majority of the legislature's view of morality.
okay.
My view of
I said
morality
to you
and the
earlier,
legislature's view of
I said
morality
to
could be
you
totally
earlier,
different.
I don't think you're following me at all. I said to you earlier, one or more persons. So if we're talking about laws, we're going to talk about laws that are ensconced by one person or more than one person, sir.
I think the one who's not listening is you, because I said
Okay, do you dispute that laws are
matters.
instantiated? Stop. Do you dispute that laws are instantiated by one person or more than one person? Do you dispute that?
No,
Okay, good. Now, because you know this, then laws are going to be instantiated by one person's view of what should or should not be the case, or more than one person of what should and should not be the case.
correct,
So you got people's ethical standards that are the baseline for our laws necessarily and logically.
correct.
So you're just appealing to what other people's belief systems are, where it's one or more persons. That's all you're really doing.
Can I tell you what I'm doing, or are you going to interrupt me?
No, it's logically what you're doing because you can't separate the laws from the belief systems of the people that made them.
Can I tell you what I'm saying, or are you going
How
to
can
put
you
words in my mouth?
logically? How could you logically ignore that? You already conceded this.
Sam, you
So
have
who
your
was it
answer.
who said,
I'm gonna let
Sam,
you
if
talk.
you don't have
You
any
conceded.
answer, let's
You
move on?
conceded. You
Can
already
that
con.
person now
Stop.
call
Stop.
me
Stop.
out
Stop.
and
Stop.
answer
Stop.
if he
Stop.
wants,
Stop.
if he's
Stop.
not allowed, if he,
Stop. 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 Look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to make this real clear to you. If you don't like how I'm interacting with you, you don't have to stay here. You can leave at any time, sir. It's really that simple. But you've already conceded that the laws are instantiated by one or more than one person's view. You've already conceded this. So don't pivot and walk this back at this point. You cannot logically ignore what you've already stated. So when you admit that the law is based on what one person believes or what more than one person believes, all you're doing is making a reference to one or more person's belief systems. That's all you're doing.
you're arguing with yourself, not with me, because you're saying things that I'm not saying at all. So if you want to know what my beliefs are, what my position is, then let me answer your questions. If you want to answer the questions for yourself and do that, then why do you need
Well,
to be
how do
here?
you avoid the appeal to one or more person's beliefs by referencing the law? How do you avoid that?
You don't.
Thank you. So ultimately, that's all you're doing when you point to the law.
I have no idea what point you're trying to make because
So you're
you're
saying,
basically saying what I said at the very beginning. So all right, thanks
okay,
for coming around to
because
my position.
if you're going to reference the law, you're not referencing your beliefs, you're referencing other people's beliefs.
Absolutely. Thank you for understanding my position and agreeing with me. If you had listened to me from the very
Yeah,
beginning, we would have been here 15 minutes ago.
yeah. So you're not going to be. There's no way for you to be consistent with that view because you're going to disagree in certain instances, like with the Dominican Republic.
Yes, I'm going to morally disagree with laws. Yes, absolutely. And even here in the United States, I morally disagree with a whole bunch of laws.
So
Absolutely. But
either
I follow them because they're laws. But I
so either you
morally disagree with them.
so either you can trivially point out to what the laws are, which is a trivial issue, or you can find a way to ethically justify your position. Which one do you want to do?
if following the law is going to ethically challenge me greatly, like the question of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement that came up, I will not follow the laws. I will follow my morals. But if the challenge to my morality is not that heavy by following the laws, that is, I can live with it, then I follow the laws.
So basically, what you're doing is just simply appealing to the law when it suits you.
No.
So
I'm
don't point
appealing
to
to
the
my
law at any
morality
other.
all the time.
So don't point to the law at
That's what
any
I'm
point
saying.
because it's just going to be a triviality that's not going to answer the question. So we shouldn't have any more reference to the law in this instance from you.
You know, the frustrating thing here is that we have talked about all this stuff and we're talking about them again because you didn't listen to me.
Well, you've
Why are you
already
asking me
admitted
this
that.
question? Why are you
Look.
asking me this question now
Look.
when this
This
was
is
how I
this is so
started my talk?
no, because
Huh?
you always like to constantly make this distinction between the laws and your personal beliefs. But making this
Yes.
distinction accomplishes nothing because you just said, well, the law just states X, Y, or Z. That's trivial, sir. What sort of productive sort of meaning does that accomplish by you just point out a trivial thing?
What do you mean trivial thing? What are you talking about?
It's literally trivial to say, well, here's a set of laws that says this, and water is wet. What's your point?
What?
It just flew right over your head, didn't it? A triangle has
Yeah.
3 sides. Water is wet. These are trivially true things. So what?
What does that have to do with laws and morality?
Do you know what it means to make a trivial point? Do you even know what trivial means?
Yeah, but I'm trying to ask you what trivial point I'm trying to make, and you talk about
It's
triangles, and I
trivial.
didn't talk about triangles.
It's
So
just an
please give an
example, sir.
example of a
Learn how to
trivial
follow
thing.
along in a conversation. It's just an
No,
example.
why don't you give an example that actually makes sense and is part of the conversation? If you're talking about
No,
triviality in laws, talk about triviality in laws.
it's
If
an
you're talking
example
about
to convey the
triviality in my
principle.
conversation, talk about triviality in my conversation. I understand what a triangle is, and
It's
that
just
has
an
absolutely
example
nothing
to
to
convey
do
the
with
point.
our thing.
It's an
But
example.
you
It's an
didn't.
analogy. It's an analogy to convey the point that it's unimportant to talk about what the laws are. There's no importance in this discussion about where ethics are ultimately
How
grounded.
did you come up with that conclusion? I don't understand how you conclude things.
Because you admit yourself that if a law disagrees with your ethics, then you would not want to follow that law.
That I can be a conscientious objector in the society makes laws trivial? Where'd you get that?
It makes you point to
When
them
when when
to
did
them
Martin Luther
unimportant.
King say
It
laws are
it makes
trivial?
it makes you pointing to them unimportant because we're talking about the
No,
ethics of
no, not at
abortion.
all. Not at all.
Our
Because
ethics ultimately grounded in our ethics ultimately grounded in the moral context, or they ultimately grounded in the legal context. It cannot be both, sir.
yeah, it is both. Sorry that you can't
No,
get
it's
it,
not.
but it is
No,
both.
it's not.
Well,
No, it's not.
as I said, I regret the fact that you can't see this point.
Well, if it's grounded
But
in,
that's
if the justification of abortion is grounded in the legal context, then
it's not.
exactly. So it's grounded in the moral context.
Yes.
So it's not both. Like I said,
Like you said, what?
I said the ethics of abortion are not ultimately grounded in the legal context. They're not grounded in both the moral and the legal context, sir. And you just admitted this. But that's what I said the first time.
If you're going to ban abortion, then abortion's justification and everything else becomes a legal matter. But if abortion is not banned, then abortion becomes a personal moral matter.
But the legal issue is not the reason why you don't want to see abortion banned. That's not the reason why.
No, I want, based on moral reasons, I want to allow, in this particular situation where it's such an important thing and people are all over the place and there is not a single answer, and all the justifications for it on our moral basis, then the law should allow people make moral decisions on what
So
they're
tell
doing.
me, where do you get it from that abortion for any reason should be justified? Where do you get that from?
I didn't say that. When did I say that?
It's a question. Either you get it from somewhere or you don't.
I'm not getting it from anywhere because I don't believe that.
Okay, so when you
So your morals have
wow,
no final reference point?
exactly.
Sorry, what was
Thank
the
you.
question? What was
I
the
said, so
question?
your morals have no final reference point.
Yeah, they do. Me and
Okay.
my personal experiences
Oh,
and my life
okay.
experiences
Okay.
that shapes my morality.
Are your mental experiences simply spontaneously arriving?
What does that mean?
Are your mental states just spontaneous occurrences in chronological order?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, you said your morals, the final reference point is your mind and experiences, right?
Yes.
What is the origin of those mental experiences? Are they spontaneous occurrences without any antecedents?
No, their origins are me living.
No. I don't think you're understanding the question.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Do each of your mental states, do they just spontaneously occur without prior cause and effect?
No. They're
Okay,
based
so your
on
mental states are the
previous.
product. Okay, so what we have is a type of determinism. Is that correct?
No,
Okay, so nothing determines your mental states.
that's not what I said. Things do
Okay,
determine it,
are
but
your
it's not
mental states
deterministic.
spontaneous? All right, listen. Are your mental states simply spontaneous occurrences, or does something impose their actuality?
Something triggers them.
Something imposes those occurrences?
What does impose mean?
It means come to bring into existence.
Sorry, say that again?
It means that there is something that institutes the actuality of the occurrence. So your morals come from your mental states, but your mental states are not spontaneous eruptions or occurrences. So is there something fundamentally that institutes and secures the actuality of those mental states?
It's processes in my brain.
No. Your mental states, what in a non-spontaneous way dictates that they're actual?
I'm sorry, I really have a hard time understanding the question. Could you
Why are
say
your
then?
mental states happening?
Because my brain is functioning.
Okay, so then you're saying that biological laws dictate your mental states?
Yeah?
Okay. And are biological laws eternal and absolute?
No?
Okay. Then what imposes and sustains any laws or regularities?
So uh, let me answer that question a bit differently. In biological laws are unchanging, but our understanding of what those laws are is ever changing.
Oh, I understand that. Are these biological laws eternal?
eternal, yes.
And how did you determine that?
I have not seen them changed. Therefore, there's
Okay,
a high probability that they would be.
that's begging the, sir, you're a
Yeah, yeah,
trained lawyer, right? You're a trained lawyer?
yes,
Do you teach law?
yes.
Okay, what you just said is begging the question.
I understand that.
Okay, so you're just simply just saying is that because of your relatively small inductive experience, therefore the whole comports to the part. That's begging the question.
Your reference to inductive reasoning is quite correct in that because in the past these laws have been unchanging, then there's a high
Sir, listen to
probability.
me. Are you using induction to come to a conclusion about the whole of the past?
The whole of the past. What does that mean?
Yeah, because in your experience there's been consistency. Therefore, that consistency continues eternally into the past.
Yes,
Is that your
that's correct.
reasoning?
Yeah. That's correct.
That's begging the question. That's a fallacy.
No, not when you're doing an inductive reasoning. That would
No,
not be
you're
a
not.
fallacy.
I don't think you understand what's going on here. Okay.
Enlighten me.
You cannot use induction. Okay.
Why?
Because you have a partial. I'm going to explain it to you. Just because you have a partial consistency, it's not logically necessitated that the whole conforms to the part. A father comes to his daughter, and the daughter says, "Daddy, it's going to rain tomorrow." And he says, "Okay, honey, how do you know that?" And she says, "Daddy, it's rained every single day this week. Therefore, it will rain tomorrow." Is that valid reasoning?
Um, the way you phrased it, no, but the way you phrased
Okay.
it is not the way it is phrased.
Now what you're saying is because you haven't observed any beginning to the succession, therefore the succession infinitely goes back into the past. That's a fallacy, sir.
So, the
Did these
fallacy,
consistencies, hold on a second, did these consistencies always repeatedly occur before there were humans?
here is your
Can you
statement.
address my question,
No,
please?
because your
I'm not the
question,
one. I'm not the one who's confused about the problem here, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but I'm going to be a straight shooter.
but
Okay.
you're
What you're saying is,
misrepresenting
listen
my
to me.
position. That's the
You are
problem.
saying, what you are saying is because you have experienced consistencies, right, without exception, therefore they are eternal into the past.
No, that
That
is
does
not what
not.
I said. No,
Okay,
no.
so
This is what you're,
the laws of nature are eternal without beginning?
because we have seen the laws of nature unchanged. There is a high probability that the
I didn't
laws of,
ask you about the probability.
well, that's my answer because there's no
Probabilities, okay,
absolute answer.
okay, well then so then that's the first answer you should have given.
I
So
did. You
you
just
don't
didn't.
have
You
no,
didn't
sir,
hear it.
listen
That's
to
what I
me.
was trying to say. That you're
So you have
misrepresenting my
okay,
position.
so laws of nature are not absolute, they're not eternal then necessarily.
That's correct.
Okay, so the laws of nature being what undergird your morals, laws of nature are not absolute then.
That's
Okay,
correct. Let's say,
good.
yeah.
So can you tell me then what does institute and secure the continuance of laws of nature?
Nature.
No, sir, that's begging the question.
No, it's not. You
Nature,
say
okay,
what?
is
You can
nature,
say
listen to
what
me, nature is an
constitutes.
abstract, listen. You're too educated
Listen,
of a man.
you accused me of committing a fallacy. I have the right to defend myself that that
Could
was
you
not a
tell me
fallacy.
what did you not commit as a fallacy?
You committed a fallacy.
What
And you
fallacy did I commit?
accused me of having committed a fallacy.
You
So
have.
can you
Okay,
repeat
our
it, please?
laws of
And then let me
nature,
answer it.
our laws of nature, absolute, self-contained, without beginning, and eternal.
I don't know the answer to that question. It may or may not be.
Okay,
There's a high probability that they are.
so the laws of nature, okay, this is a universal declaration, okay? So the laws of nature exist without a fundamental explanation as to why they exist. Is that your position?
No, that is not my position.
Okay. What institutes and secures the regularity of nature, sir?
Nature.
No, that, sir, you're
Okay,
not
so
understanding.
this is
Nature,
the fallacy,
listen to
and let
me.
me.
If
This
I
is
said to
what
you,
you
what
call the
makes, listen
fallacy.
carefully, listen
No,
to
you
me.
listen
If I
carefully,
said to you,
because you now accuse me
listen, you
again of the
are,
fallacy. Let me defend
sir,
myself.
if you're a law professor, it's a disgrace in the way that you're behaving right
No,
now.
it's a
If you are a
disgrace the
law
way you guys
professor,
are debating, because you're not
I am
listening
being
to
a
what I'm
complete,
saying. You're
I
putting
am being a
words into my
complete
mouth.
gentleman with you. I did not put words into your mouth. I'm
No,
merely
you
doing
keep
an
interrupting me.
analysis.
You're not a gentleman at all.
No, sir. This is
Don't fool
I know
yourself.
this little game. I know this little game that
Yeah, the game
people
that you're
play
playing,
on.
I'm playing it back
Okay,
with you and Todd.
you tell me when you're done being rude. Are you done?
When you're done.
No. This is a little game that people play, and for a
Uh-huh.
man who's educated as yourself, it's a disgrace that you're conducting yourself this way. You start bickering with me, and
Thank
then
you.
when I ask you to stop bickering, then you go, no, you're the one who's bickering. This is the way children argue at the cafeteria table. I expect more from an educated man like yourself. Now,
Likewise.
when I well, I'm not the one who's bickering here.
Yeah,
You
you
are.
are. You're the one who's putting words into my mouth
Okay,
and
I didn't put
not.
words into your mouth. I'm doing an analysis. I'm doing an evaluation of what you have already stated. Now, when I ask you the laws of nature, nature's laws, okay, what is it that institutes and secures nature's laws?
Nature.
Okay, that is just simply begging the question. So are the laws of nature absolute, self-contained, without beginning?
I don't know.
Okay, then if you don't know, you can't say nature.
Yes, I can, because what I
Okay,
don't
you're not
know.
okay, listen. Wow. I am truly dumbfounded that you're not comprehending this. Either nature, okay, which you are using, does nature equal laws of nature?
Nature includes laws of nature.
Okay. Then if the laws are a subsection, does nature institute and secure laws, physical laws?
I don't know how the laws of nature are secured or written.
Well, no, hold on a second. These laws, are they instituted and secured by what you call nature?
Yes.
Okay. Is nature the set of all real things?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that is not a coherent answer, and I'm going to tell you why. So, when I ask you why there are any regularities at all, when you say nature, all you're just simply saying is all of the particulars, the set of all particulars that exist, impose each instance of regularity. That's
No.
not an answer, sir.
That's not what I said.
Is nature the set of all real things?
Yes.
So your answer is the set of all real particulars dictates any regularities. What you're appealing to
You
is
first have to
listen.
prove there are
What you're
regularities. Then
appealing to what you're appealing to is an abstract set of concrete particulars. So all of the concrete particulars collectively, all of them together, dictate individual laws.
Sorry, what? I didn't understand that.
Okay, when you say nature, nature is an abstraction of a set of concrete particulars.
Why is it
So
an abstraction?
because it's not a concrete one, it's an abstract one.
Why? Yeah, I mean, you just repeated yourself. Why is it an abstraction?
This is I am dumbfounded that you're doing this routine. Maybe it's because you were trained in law school. Maybe they trained you
No,
to be
but
this
I mean,
way.
you're saying nature is an abstraction, but nature to me is
is a
not an
term.
abstraction. It's concrete.
Okay,
So
you're not under. Okay. Is nature a concrete one or an abstract one?
okay, I don't understand this question
Okay,
because
something. Do you
nature,
know the difference between? Do you understand the difference between something being concrete versus abstract?
yes,
Okay, if I say humanity, is that something that is concrete or abstract?
it has both components to it.
No. Humanity is an abstraction which attempts to collectivize into a single term a plurality or a set of concrete particulars. Humanity is not a concrete one, it's an abstract one. Do you understand? So this likewise, when you say nature, nature is either a concrete one or it's a plurality of concrete particulars that you're collectivizing by the single term nature, which is an abstraction. So is nature
That's a false
no, it
dichotomy
is not a false dichotomy, sir. Listen carefully.
because nature,
Nature is either a concrete one or it refers to a set of concrete a plurality of particulars. Which is it?
okay, am I allowed 30 seconds to
I would
respond to this,
like you
please?
to address my question because you like to segue away and bicker. Is nature a concrete one where there is not a plurality of concrete particulars, or does nature refer to a plurality of discrete concrete particulars? Which is it?
In my opinion, the nature is a combination of these two.
No,
On the one
sir.
hand,
Sir,
the
it cannot be.
nature,
That's a contradictions in term. Okay? Listen
may I finish
carefully.
now?
Either nature is a concrete one or not. Is nature a concrete one, or is it a set of a plurality of concrete particulars? It has to be one or the other.
Please let me know when my 30 seconds begins so I
I
can
would
talk.
like you to answer the question and not to dodge. If you dodge the question, I will interrupt you. Is nature a concrete one where there is not a plurality of concrete particulars, or does nature refer to two or more concrete particulars?
The question, as you have posed, has no answer from me.
Okay, if you don't have an answer, then you lose your ability to speak intelligibly when you invoke nature.
No,
Nature
because
is a single.
you're not allowing me
Sam,
to give you my answer.
I am allowing you. Do you have an answer? Is
Yes, I do
nature
have
a
an answer, but it's not
concrete?
a yes
Okay,
or no answer.
Sam, listen carefully. Nature either refers to a concrete one or not.
No, it
Okay.
doesn't.
Yes,
This
it
is
is.
the difference.
It's called the law of excluded middle, Sam.
Okay, if I say no, you say yes. I say no, you say yes. We're not
Okay,
gonna get anywhere.
Sam, I've been extremely patient with you. Okay, more than I am with most people because you present yourself as an educated man. You're a graduate of law school and you teach law. but you are deceptive and evasive, and you're employing bickering
I
tactics
I
as
don't
a
understand
run-of-the-mill
why
person on
I'm
here.
being accused of being deceptive when I'm not allowed to
Because you
answer a
are. It's
question.
obvious. Listen
You
carefully.
haven't
All right.
heard what I'm trying to say. The
Something is
thing
either
is
a
that
okay, Sam.
my
If you
my
continue,
worldview is
you
not
know what,
binary
Sam?
like yours. It's
Do you want?
nuanced.
If you persist, listen to me. If you persist bickering in the manner that you're doing, you are going to compel me to kick you out, and I would rather not do that. Now, you are simply being argumentative. Okay, I'm being more than
He
patient
left.
with
He's
you, in
gone.
spite of. Okay, well, you see, this is his shtick. This is probably what they teach him to do in law school. He probably is a practicing defense attorney where they practice lying and trying to deceive the jury that their client isn't guilty.
He's a sophist.
His
All day.
his
Yeah.
his his conduct. You see, we should expect a more cerebral response from somebody who professes he's college educated, he's a law school graduate, and he's a law school professor. That all he was just doing was bickering, right? When I said either nature is a concrete one or it's not, he says, well, that's a false dichotomy. No, it's not.
That's an
He
A
was
or not
big.
A situation. You
He
just
was
plug in the
bickering with
value.
me. He was bickering with me that nature was either a concrete one or it's referring to a plurality of two or more concrete particulars. The reason why he went into bickering mode is because this is a territory of analysis that he didn't have any shtick for. So when atheists go into uncomfortable areas that they don't have a script or shtick for, they just bicker. They bicker, they bicker, they bicker. And then when you attempt to confront them about their bickering, they go, no, you're the one who's bickering. What a disgrace for a man who claims he's a professor of law. What a disgrace.
That was a disgrace, and he really has his ethics coming from nowhere. He doesn't have a grounding for these things.
He wants to sit there and say laws of nature dictate his mental states, and his mental states dictates. So therefore, when there is a clash between mental states that are exuding mores, then it's just chaos going on, right? So what he's just saying, morals are the product of chaos, because
Exactly.
there's not one concrete thing in control. There's just chaos going on.
Yeah, he thinks 12-year-olds that get raped should be able to have an abortion because of chaos.
Yeah. Well, this is
It's
what happens when
asinine.
you adopt an atheistic worldview that where morals are entirely subjective and relativistic, and what he just decides at any given moment. And by the way, but even that line of reasoning is convoluted, because after all, he's not deciding anything. This is just evolution producing certain neurological mental states. And if
Exactly.
somebody vehemently disagree with him, they're just another evolved state that butts heads. It's like two rams in the wild butting each other's heads, or two
Exactly.
lions going up against each other. Hey, it's just two dogs barking with a chain link fence between the two of them. All right,
Can I
I
There's
ask a
gotta
no.
go.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we're talking about someone or earlier in the conversations, people were talking about a final reference point for moral questions, and I'm just wondering
Yeah.
what we mean by that.
Okay. So we're coming from the Christian worldview, where God is the supreme being and the creator of all things that are not himself. So everything that can and does exist, whatever is, can be, and cannot be, is the product of the mind, the purpose, and the plan of God. So God is the final reference point for anything that is. Okay? When he yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that just sounds like everything's going to be subjective on that view.
No, that's patently absurd. What we have is we have an eternal mind that
Yeah, it's a
is
mind.
in God. Yeah, we have an eternal mind where God is entirely self-conscious of himself.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In the Christian worldview, God is entirely self-conscious of himself.
Right.
And that entire self-conscious mind then dictates all instances of what is, can be, and cannot be. Subjectiveness means that this is a conclusion that doesn't necessarily correspond to the actuality of the whole.
I
So
don't
you
think that's
can't
what that
level.
means.
No, yeah, that's what it means. Is so. For example, if I am outside and it's really, really hot, and I come inside where there's air conditioning, and let's say it's 95 degrees out, very humid, and I come inside and it is, let's say, 76 degrees from the air conditioning, I will have a subjective response that it's cold inside when 76 degrees is not considered to be cold. Okay?
So
What you are attempting to do is a form of sophism, and I'll tell you why. What you're attempting to do is you're anthropomorphizing God. That because if my mind says something and it's subjective, therefore God, if God is a mind, it would therefore be subjective. It can't be
So
subjective for God. Listen to me. It can't be subjective because God would be the ground of all existence. Our minds are not the ground of all existence.
yeah. So then subjective doesn't mean mind dependent.
Okay. You are anthropomorphizing God when you
That an
bring
answer to
out
my
that.
question?
Okay, I am answering your question.
It's going to be
You
yes
when
or
you
no.
give it. Okay, repeat your question.
So does subjective mean mind dependent?
Okay, for human beings, it means that. That does not apply to God because you're making a category error. Okay, do you know what anthropomorphizing means?
Making something out to be human in some way.
Exactly. So, for example, when you indict God for murder, okay, you're anthropomorphizing God. God, by definition, cannot commit murder. Human beings can. So, do you
Right.
understand that that's a category error? If somebody says, well, God's a murderer,
I understand. Agree with that. So
do you agree and understand that if somebody indicts God of murdering, that they can only do so by committing the category error by applying anthropomorphizing God?
yeah, I don't agree.
Okay, I guess you're not understanding. Okay, can God commit murder?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, now do you agree that murder is the either illegal or unethical taking of life?
Yes.
Okay, now what jurisdiction would God be under?
The jurisdiction of moral justification.
Okay, that was a total, absolutely absurd, ridiculous response because you didn't know what to say.
That's just going to be
If
begging
you,
the question, isn't it?
no, sir, listen to me. Do you think I was born yesterday? Do you think I'm
I
stupid?
don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
No, sir. Listen to me carefully, okay? What jurisdiction is there an objective standard to which God is obligated to conform his thinking or his conduct?
What do we mean by objective standard?
I'm going to kick your sorry little ass out of here in about 2 seconds if you continue with this sophism.
For asking for clarification?
Okay, goodbye. Okay, you want to play that game? Hit the road. All right.
Yeah, no,
You see,
Piper just
this is the little game that they play. I'm sorry. This is the little
What
teenage bickering game that they play, like
What
they're
do
at
you
the
mean by
cafeteria
this? What
table.
do you mean by that?
Yeah.
They just do. What do you mean
I don't
by
have a
every little
problem.
syllable?
I don't have a problem people asking definitions or what you mean by this or that. But when it is deployed as a strategy of dodging and delaying and obfuscating and prevaricating, then I have my Popeye moment. Okay?
It was quite easy to discern that he was doing that to dodge. He wasn't doing that legitimately for
Yeah,
clarification.
it Sophist strategery is what it was, and it was quite obvious. Okay? Yeah. What objective standard would God be obligated to conform to? Because unless he identifies such, then there's no jurisdiction. Okay?
Yeah, Piper
See
was
what?
dancing the
Yeah.
whirling dervish with Matt the other day. Really bad.
Yeah, this is what we call the Angstreich light syndrome. Okay?
Exactly.
It's just obfuscate, obfuscate, obfuscate. Dodge, delay, define. What's the argument for that? What's the definition for that? Ad infinitum. Split hairs, split hairs, split hairs. Bicker, 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 bicker. All right, I'll be back.
What's up, John? The one that just came in the room, not Melonkraut, or however you pronounce your name.
What's
Mr.
up, man?
Yeah, I see you in here. You had quite the room yesterday. Went on for a long time.
Bro, I didn't end that room until 5 o'clock this morning. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
They
you
went
went
up.
in pretty. Yeah,
I think I think we ended up having almost 1,000 people over the course of the night. It was
good.
like
Like it
9
was
something,
packed.
980 something.
At one point, it was packed with like 77 people. I think 80, something like that.
The highest I saw was 84.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That shit was so
You
fun.
remember when it started out with like the 2 or 3 of us, and then it just went on a roller coaster like 2, 3 hours later after that.
Oh, dude, okay. So I was pretty sure the title of that room was gonna trigger the arrogant clowns. I was pretty darn sure it'd bring them in, and it was like clockwork, man. They
Very
rolled
nicely
in
done.
and just couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, I love the title of this room.
That room's
Yeah.
pretty dead now. I just went in. There's like Nick and Albedo and someone else on stage, and that's it. And there's like a couple of people in the audience.
The other
Yeah,
problem with him and his fake outrage is that when he sees this, he's not going to be mad at Veckel when Veckel clearly said that he shouldn't have blocked me and others.
I concur, but it's up to him.
Why do you say that? Like, what's the purpose in saying that?
Yeah,
It's up
it's
to him. Like,
just obvious.
Well, he's gonna
Like, why don't
suffer
you
his
just
own
tell him?
consequences, is my opinion.
He's going to do what? Suffer the consequence. Who is?
Yeah,
Dark?
I think he's intent on punishing other Christians. I think it's gonna backfire to cause him problems, and he's just gonna have
Oh,
to
for sure,
walk it back
definitely,
a little
of
bit.
course, he has to. If he actually followed through with this thing, if he dialogue with Tom Rabbit or Jack Hangstrike or whatever, he would. It would be too much. He would be done.
He doesn't have as much pull as he thinks he does, just because a bunch of atheists like troll him and stalk him. You know, that doesn't mean he has clout in the Christian community.
John, his whole view that somehow he's punishing other Christians by blocking them is ridiculous. As he's actually doing us a favor, because then an atheist isn't going to come up and say, James, so how can you defend Darth Dawkins? Well, I don't have to defend Darth Dawkins. Darth Dawkins is blocked. I don't have to deal with him coming on in a room where I'm mod on stage. So this whole thing is like he's actually helping Christians who give him grief. He's making it easier for us to distance ourselves.
I'll tell you what, though, James, when Darth Dawkins first came here, people were Christians, that is. They were fawning all over him, and they turned on him. And I was the one that was like, this guy's obnoxious. I'd send him down, kick him out of the room sometimes, and they would get mad at me because I was just trying to be a mod, and they asked a Christian room. And so, you know, these same people are now, oh no, he's not even a Christian and this and that, and it's like whatever, people.
Yeah, but now, even after he's blocked you, you'll just be mods with him on stage and not, not do anything. So I feel like you've
Yeah, I don't
backslid.
care. I don't take it personally, things like that. Like for instance, when Mad modded me, and then Darth comes up later, and then Matt mods Darth. Like, it's really like it's not a big deal to me.
Oh, Matt. So Darth left that room. So can you see it now?
Yeah. Like who was it?
Oh
That
It's
shit.
guy.
called. Hold on a sec. It's called. Am I talking about abortion again? Yup. That's what the name of the room is.
Yeah. Like the guy Tom Adams. He says that he won't. He's a good friend of mine, good Christian, but he says I won't even share the same stage with Darth. And so, when he was talking about him in the chat, Darth said, "Come on up," and Tom says, "No, I'm not going to go up there." And so Darth
Here's
kicked him out of
here's
the
my
room.
new theory. I don't think that Darth ever unblocked Matt Adams, but that Darth could still see the room that Matt Adams was in. He came in the room. Matt Adams made him mod the other day. He didn't really talk to Matt Adams, didn't really give him grief, but I don't think he ever unblocked him to begin with.
Well, that's what I was saying.
That's possible, but Matt Adams says that he could read his messages, and if you're blocked, that's not possible.
I thought you could read the last one and then you just couldn't reply.
No, the name doesn't
No,
even pop
they
up.
just disappear. Then he's not blocked.
On and I see his messages right in the forefront of my messenger box.
Oh, so
I see
you
the
can't
last one
see
because
his
he.
message?
Yeah, because he unblocks me, sends me a snarky message, and then blocks me again, and I can see all that.
Well, I don't
So
know
your
about that
theory
messaging, but
your theory is wrong,
it could
Tom.
be that he unblocked you, and then once he sent you a message, forgot to block you back. Could that be it?
I don't know. He's just being
He's
a
kind of
snowflake.
old. I mean, he has a tendency to forget sometimes to block people or unblock.
Well, hold on a sec. Matt Adams is saying that he can't see the room now, and Darth is not in the room, so it looks like someone else has it
Oh,
blocked.
okay, that's also possible. I'm one of the other guys also has me blocked too. Probably, I'm gonna guess Derek Lee. I don't know
But
if he's
Derek
in
Lee's not
there.
on stage.
Okay, well then I don't know, but sometimes
Wait,
Darth.
so you can't see that abortion room, John?
No. Well, let me check actually if Darth is gone.
Someone else must. If you can't, then let's find out who else has been blocked.
No, it actually does come up for me. Tone Loc, Matt Yester, Redefine.
So it's.
Yep, that's the one.
It's just Darth then that has you blocked.
Yeah, I see JJ's in there.
But can
I was
Matt
just
see
no,
that
I'm not.
room?
I was just in there, but Darth wasn't in there.
Can Matt see the abortion room?
No, I could probably sneak in there and hang out there, and then when
Matt
Darth comes
can't
back,
see the
then I'll
abortion
still be there.
room. Who the hell's got Matt Adams blocked then?
So I can see that room. I just can't see this room. So somebody on the stage has me blocked. So I don't know who it is because I don't have them blocked yet.
All right, I'm gonna go in and take a screenshot. It's probably Jack. Hang on, let me take a
I was
screenshot of
saying,
who's on
Jack,
stage.
I can see that room, Jack. I'm just saying I can't see this room.
No,
which
I
means
was just joking.
Oh, okay. Saying which means somebody on this stage currently is a fan of mine and they have me blocked, but I don't have them blocked currently. So I'll have to figure out who it is so I can block them.
No, you don't just block them.
Well, they have me blocked. I can't even see this room
That's
when I
not
look
a
at the
good.
top
That's
of the
not a
search.
good reason to block them.
Well,
Wait,
no.
so-
If somebody has you blocked so that you can't see a room and I can't see the room we're currently in, means if I leave or go anywhere, I get kicked. I can't join back to the room, which means I need to now narrow down who has me blocked so I can block them.
It doesn't. No,
Then that
blocking
way,
them
if they
doesn't
leave,
help you though.
well, no, but that means if they leave the room, then they can't get back in, and so it's just returning in kind.
No, but it doesn't help you at all. In fact, it just perpetuates the problem.
No, it does help if you don't want to do that.
No, but you're talking to James
mutually
though.
assured
Like
destruction.
James's middle name is Spite. So I mean, of course he's gonna
Sometimes if
fucking
you block
kick
someone
them in the
back,
shin
Talk
too.
sense to him though.
Yeah, but sometimes if you block someone back, they will.
No offense, James.
They will agree. You make a deal to unblock each other, right? So sometimes that does work as a method to get someone to unblock you.
Okay. I can see the room now, so whoever had me blocked has unblocked me, so I will not investigate to block anybody.
Well,
Okay, so I know
Darth,
who's
nothing
that's.
changed, nothing.
I don't understand who blocked. Is it John Maddox that has Matt blocked? I don't get it. Is that Matt talking?
Alrighty, now that I'm unblocked from this room, I'm going to go to the Matt Yester room and try to ask Veckel if he watched the video, and I'll be back.
While you're there, ask who's got Matt Adams blocked.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Question is, where did Darth go?
After looking, I still can't see the room. And you're saying that Ton Locke is in there and Matt
Yeah,
Yester and
Matt Yester, John Maddox, Redefine. Maybe it's Matt
Could
Yester
could it
because
be
you.
John Maddox? He blocks a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who John Maddox is.
See if you can
You don't
message Matt
remember him from
Yester.
Facebook? He used to be on Facebook too, Matt.
I don't think so. I might would recognize him if I saw his profile.
Random guy, what the hell are you talking about? If you're just memeing, you're bad at it and you annoy me.
But I do recall earlier seeing a notification. I thought that Dark Dawkins was talking. That was about an hour ago or so, and I didn't pay much attention to it. And then you guys started talking about Veckel and Dark Dawkins on stage together, so I went and looked for the room. I couldn't see it anywhere. And then you said Dark Dawkins left, but I still can't see the room. So apparently it wasn't Dark Dawkins. Apparently it's someone else. And I know it wasn't Veckel because I was in a room earlier, Ask a Christian, and Veckel was in there talking.
Yeah, but who got there first? Not that I think Veckel would have blocked you, but
No,
this
me and
is.
him were having a good, pleasant conversation a few days ago, mocking atheists. So I don't think it would be him.
So on stage is
I
Tola,
suppose
Matt
it could be a
Yester.
glitch.
Yeah, it could be a glitch because I don't think any of these people would block you. Redefine, John the physicist, Veckel, Chris the gay, Roger, John Maddox, Stamatis, and some other one. I don't know who that is.
Yep.
None of them I don't think would block you.
Yeah, I don't think I have any
It's probably just a glitch.
bad history with any of them.
I didn't block you.
I don't know how easy it is. Is it easy to accidentally block somebody? I don't think it is on Club Deck, but
No, not
I
on the
that
did.
phone
easily.
app.
I
It's
accidentally blocked
possible.
someone. Really, in the early parts of Clubhouse, I accidentally blocked a Christian and didn't know it until I figured out how to block somebody, and I saw that I had him blocked. And apparently,
Yeah,
I
it's the only
didn't
thing
even
I can
mean
think
to.
of.
I don't
Only
know
alternative
because
I
it
can think.
asks you like, are you sure? Doesn't it? I thought it did. Here, let me try. Let me just block JJ. Sort of ought
My
to be done anyway, really. Hold on
my,
a sec. Hang on.
I
Let's see.
suspect it was either Friction or Francesco that had James's tired plot.
Yeah, you can't just.
No.
It says, "Are you sure you want to do it?" And then it gives you like a cancel or block. So yeah, it's probably pretty hard, unless you remove someone
Wait,
from the
why do you think
room.
that's me?
Sounds like your style.
It isn't.
Oh, so JK kicked Friction out the room.
I heard about that.
And the other people were like kind of pissed at him because they were in the middle of like an interesting discussion. And JK's like, well, look, I apologized to him and he still has me blocked, so I'll just be like a petty bitch. It's more or less what he said.
JK said that.
Yeah.
JK's become a great debater on the Christian side.
Yeah, that's funny.
I remember when he
No, it
was an
doesn't.
atheist just a few weeks ago.
Hey Matt, I asked who had you blocked, and nobody would fess up to blocking you, Matt. So I couldn't figure it out.
It could be a glitch, I don't know, but I still can't see the room.
I let Veckel know that him and I were in a new Tom Rabbit video, and he said that's great. He doesn't say anything to Tom that he doesn't stand behind or think behind, something to that effect. And then all Tom is doing is getting him more subscribers on YouTube.
Great. Everyone's having fun.
It works out for
Everyone's
everybody then, right?
collaborating.
Yeah.
Matt, it's got to be a glitch. I think that happens sometimes. Just give it a bit.
I mean, try restarting the whole app or something, maybe, man.
Yeah,
That's
or
too much
turning.
trouble.
Yeah.
What?
Too much trouble. Yeah, or turning your phone off and on.
That's too much trouble.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I'm trying to get my phone to charge. It's being a headache today.
I just got a Mophie case, where it's like a case with a battery. It's fantastic.
It's not bad. My phone is because I have two. The one that's shattered that I told you about that I had to assume payments on.
Yeah.
Because my daughter broke it, and the one that I have that's working well, it doesn't charge like where you can't connect the battery, like the actual cord to it. So you got to either replace the port or the other component, whatever that is. But I'm not doing that right now. So I just got a wireless charger, but now the wireless charger doesn't want to work right.
Every time that's happened to me like more than once, and every time I've taken it to the Apple store, they've just said, we'll just give you a new phone. Like they can't seem to fix it. It's just once that connection is gone, it's gone.
I don't pay for the for that kind of insurance though.
Oh no, I mean usually you trade in your old one and they give you like the new one for half price or something. We actually ended up doing Apple Care because the kids break their phones and drop their phones like so routinely that it actually pays for itself.
Yep, I'm just trying to follow the doctor's orders, so maybe if I'm lucky, he'll let me get back on my feet sooner. Because if I qualify for long term, they're going to try to get me back to work as soon as I can, which is good. But long term is only 60% of your income. So it's like working a little over 80 hours in a month, which is nothing financially coming in. But thankfully, though, I did get a lot of people who helped on that GoFundMe, which definitely helped pay some bills coming into this month and that other stuff. So appreciate it. A lot of people don't have that, so I won't cry too much about woe is me, because a lot of people have it a lot worse.
Detroit, what did you think of Godless and Sean's debate last night?
Look at the YouTube comment. Yeah, our final. I don't think he'll be coming back for more after this. This was the final round. Look at the
No.
comments on the video. Like everybody's just making fun of him. Somebody called him Sean Lee.
Oh my god.
Wow,
That's
that's
I
insulting.
thought that this was like from a week ago, so I didn't know this was a new one.
Last
So
night.
tell me all
Yeah,
about
it
it.
happened last night.
Godless
Sean
is just
Lee makes me
hilarious in that
smile.
video.
They
In the
called him
headlights.
Sean Lee.
No, listening back to it though, I think I would have done better if I was like condescendingly calm rather than all the screaming I did.
Even Josh was laughing.
I
Whoa.
think Sean kind of thought it was funny, so he was like, he didn't like freak out or anything. So I think he was okay with it. Right? I think he was just like enjoying the attention or something. Because I heard him laughing when you were like screaming at him.
I don't know. I took that as a forced laugh.
Yeah, but it's better than him like losing his mind, right? I think he just decided not to take it too seriously.
Oh, well, he stopped going crazy on everybody. I mean, even when he was like attacking Jeff, it wasn't a meltdown, you know? It was like
That's true.
he's recently got a prescription for Xanax or something for the past few weeks. He hasn't
Oh,
been having
that's
his
good.
meltdowns.
Oh, good.
Who, Sean?
No, he didn't say that. I'm just saying like what's the best explanation for the change in his behavior? Some kind of medication, right? Like he was having all those meltdowns and suddenly like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he hasn't had any meltdowns.
Maybe he's
What, Matt?
maybe he's moving towards theism.
Well, he likes to LARP for some reason, so yeah, maybe he is. I mean, he's attacking Jeff Trimble, even though they seem to hold the same positions. So I don't know why he's doing that.
I think he's upset. I think I figured it out. Is that Jeff is very new to debate. Jeff's not a skilled debater. Sean is new to debate. Sean's not a skilled debater. Jeff has figured out one line that he can use that atheists really like against presuppositionalists. Sean has not found his one line that he can use against presuppositionalists, so therefore he's angry. He's angry at Jeff because Jeff has figured out what Sean has not been able to figure out.
I mean,
That makes sense.
I don't really agree,
Two terrible
but like
debaters.
Sean doesn't think he's a terrible debater. He doesn't think that at all.
I don't
I
think Sean is
mean,
a terrible debater though.
I thought he knew more than it turned out he did.
Yeah, I mean, like he used to make those rooms, like like Tom Rabbit crew doesn't know shit about philosophy. They're like intellectual, like So he definitely thinks that he's much higher than Jeff Trimble on the hierarchy.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely,
he thinks
100%,
that.
no doubt about it.
But he didn't.
So
He seemed to get very confused last night, I thought. And he had to like refer to his notes and things. It's like he was just reading up some new stuff, you know. And then he said like, I don't know much about this. He's like, I'm just thinking through it right now. I'm not saying he doesn't know more than Jeff, obviously. I'm just saying he knew less than I thought he did based on his like the way he presents himself as this big philosophy debater.
No. Towards the end of the night, Sean does this thing where, like, he goes into like low battery mode where he starts talking like this.
Yeah, but quieter.
and there's like so much space in between each word that it's just like sometimes I'm just like, dude, what's going on? What's happening there? Like, why are you talking like that? And Sean also has a big tell, and Josh, the realistic nihilist, kind of has the same tell. That like when he's not really confident about what he's saying, he can like his tell is that he projects that weakness in his voice. He becomes much more soft spoken. I mean, Josh says, Godless probably knows that, right?
He gets submissive.
Yeah, I guess Josh switches from like the debate tone voice to oh, let's have a calm discussion and weigh the different options voice when he's not confident about what he's saying.
Mm.
But Sean, the low battery mode thing is consistent with my hypothesis that he's got a Xanax prescription recently. He takes the Xanax before he goes to bed at night, so then he has the low battery mode.
So do you think someone was feeding him answers? Because it sounded like that to me as well.
Oh, I think Truthy pretty much admitted it. And I know before Arianas has admitted that the other debates with me, he was texting him, which I think that just messes Sean up more. I think he would actually do better if he wasn't trying to give arguments he doesn't understand and shit.
Yeah.
Well, last week, whenever Jeff came in and wanted to have their little debate about the first premise of the tag argument, and I gave my little syllogism as to why the first premise doesn't need to be justified, and was arguing it. Sean actually started buying into it and was actually kind of going against Jeff. So I don't know if he's taken his Xanax and got mesmerized.
Yeah, but that's just because he's
laughing.
motivated, though. He's motivated. I mean, it's like big time motivated.
He's a contrarian too. Like, so if the whole vibe of the room is like against one person, he'll jump in and defend them, and it doesn't really matter what the disagreement is. So, Godless, if Truthy was feeding Sean the answers, you should just debate Truthy.
Yeah, but Truthy won't debate. That's the thing.
Oh, really?
Jeff challenged Truthy to debate him the other night, and Truthy didn't want to do it.
I think
I was
Godless
hoping
should
he
do
would.
He's not.
Oh, I think Truthy would actually win against Jeff, though.
Yeah, but what about against you?
Oh, it could go either way. Truthy's
I think we should do it.
pretty strong.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
depends on what it
Truthy
was
doesn't.
about.
definitely to beat Jeff.
Truthy doesn't want to be recorded or something. He's like very, very shy about
do it in a room with the
recorded.
replays off.
Yeah.
See, I think
he's always doing the social rooms with no replays, and then like I tried to talk to him the other night, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you, Tom, about it," and just like left.
Yeah, I thought he kicked you out, but I guess you left.
Gigi, did you have any rules with regards to using any sort of like, let me Google that for you, or any sort of like papers or anything? Because that
No, I mean, it's not against the rules for him to do that. It just makes him look bad,
It makes him look really bad. It's like he
very
hasn't done his
weird.
homework. He wants an open book test.
Yeah, I've never seen a debate like that before. That was the first.
Yeah, it's like, hang on a minute, let me just read the definition of foundationalism.
Well,
hold on, let me
since
just
he'd really
familiarize myself.
He'd been reading about it for weeks.
Oh, yeah, talking about Sean now or Truthy?
It was definitely a first for me. I've never seen that before.
Probably will be fine in
You guys should
normal
ask him,
conversation.
why does he keep doing that to himself?
I think he wants the attention. Some people want attention, whether it's positive or negative.
He's very motivated by like what you chicken, right? And if that's happening, if someone's calling him chicken in front of Darth Arianis and the squad, well, then it's pretty simple. It's very motivating for him. I mean, you even got him to like fucking. He obviously didn't want to talk to Jay Dyer, but he pretty much said, "Okay, I'll try it," because you basically were like, "What the fuck, are you scared?" I mean, like.
Yeah. So it's like some machismo.
He's a real man.
Ego thing.
Are y'all talking about Sean or Truthy?
Kind of both.
We're talking about Matt Adams.
Wow,
some people just realize that some people just realize that they should not be doing formalized debates. You gotta know your own limitations.
Yeah.
And if you I'll give you an example. I'm dyslexic. I sometimes have a hard time recalling names or other things like that. And so if you're gonna do like a debate and you're sitting there like struggling to recall, or you missubstitute a word, you just look like an idiot. Nobody cares how you scored on an IQ test or any of that stuff. they'd like, oh, he stumbled over his words in a debate. So I think people just recognize that they're just not equipped to do certain things, and a debate is a presentation as much as it is argumentation. And if your presentation sucks, people are going to assume you lost the debate.
Well, generally started with Sean, because Gigi said, hey, go talk to Jay Dyer. And then she sent him a link, and he's like, oh, I can't find the link. I don't know how to get in there. And she kept telling him, why are you so scared? No one believes you. Like, we know you're just making excuses, you know. Then he needed headphones. He couldn't figure out that. So she just kept saying, why are you scared of talking to him? This is weird. And so then he had to challenge it.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, Mo. Like they asked me, they wanted me to go in and talk to Jay Dyer, and I just said I've had my pain pills and I don't feel like engaging with him. And it was just it. Like it's just a simple, I don't want to engage with him right now. Like that's all Sean has to say. Doesn't have to give a bunch of reasons why he can't.
Yeah.
No, he
I
can't
also
say
don't
that though.
know.
He can't say that in front of them.
But I also don't know what he loses by just conceding and being like, yeah, okay, under your view, I get it, you're right, whatever. Like, what's he lost?
Well, maybe he's insecure. Maybe he's thinking that if he says, I just don't want to go debate him, that people are going to be like, oh, Sean is he's a
in a black
pussy. He
belt.
can't defend his view. He's a chicken shit. Like, I think
Oh,
maybe
Matt,
he's afraid that those things are going to happen.
John Maddox is no longer on the stage. Can you see the room now?
Let me.
Yeah, Matt, no one would fess up when I went in there about
Yes,
who has
actually,
blocked.
Ken, it was the second. As soon as I jumped out of here, it was the first one I saw. Worldviews in conflict.
I told you
So
it was
it's
probably
John
her.
Maddox?
I don't know
Who
who
else
John
left?
Maddox is.
He might have you
A
blocked.
couple other people might have left, but that was.
John Maddox is a Christian apologist YouTuber.
He
Talks
is
about
very
nucleotides.
critical
No,
person.
wait a second. I see a thing that I see redefine Tom Locke.
They were all there before. I think it's
J.M.
John Maddox.
John M.
Yeah, the only one who's left is John Maddox, as far as I can see.
So who's John M? It just says
No,
John
I don't
M.
know.
Is that John Maddox? Because if that's the case, then he doesn't have me blocked because I see his
No,
name.
that's not John Maddox. Is like it's his face or like a dude in a t-shirt. I think it's him.
Yeah, that's John M.
But John M isn't John Maddox, though, is it? Wait, I'm going back. Hang on.
Yeah, John M. The profile is a guy in a red baseball cap, but he doesn't.
Oh,
I
I know him.
He's not. Yeah, he's not. I don't think I see his name in his profile, so it's not
He
him
got
that has
upset, Matt. He's definitely a Darth fanboy. He got upset that like we didn't be in this rooms at all, or we'd answer any questions about Darth at all. So it's not like we say, "Hey Tom, did you know Darth is a piece of shit?" Like that's not happening. But he gets really frustrated, like about Christians being in other rooms talking about Darth.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a glitch and it just shows up now. But it's like as soon as I jumped out of here, it was the very first room besides this one that popped up, Worldviews in Conflict. And I usually get that notification every time.
Boo-hoo if we talk about Darth.
Huh?
What was that, John?
Just saying boo-hoo, like what's it to him if we talk about anybody for that matter?
Sorry, what's it to who?
John Maddox.
Oh, John Maddox. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess
we were just
maybe.
trying to figure out who blocked me.
Oh, look, just see if you can
or
message
if
him.
anybody did. I don't even know who John Maddox is. Could somebody send me a picture of his profile?
Yeah, I'll send you his profile. Hold on.
I mean, I don't even know how to send pictures in the back channel, but if that's possible.
I don't see messages from John Maddox anymore. I still see the messages from Darth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Darth does not have me blocked because his messages still pop up. And they never went away. And then earlier, like I said, I got a notification when I did see the room earlier and it had Darth Dawkins' name popping up. I don't think it was this room, but there was a room where Darth Dawkins was in. So I think this must be somebody else or just a strange Clubhouse glitch.
Oh yeah, Hades, send me his profile because it's possible. When I went in there and I asked him about unblocking Matt Adams when he was on stage, that maybe he got upset and blocked me as well.
Well, maybe someone unblocked me after you went in
Yeah,
there
I
because
can't
now I
find
see
it
the room.
now. I'll have to wait till he pops up so I can click on his avatar. When I search for his name, it doesn't come up. But he doesn't have me blocked because I was just in that room. I don't know. If I can do it, I will.
Yeah, Matt Adams is a friend. I'm not blocking Matt Adams. And if somebody has Matt Adams blocked,
way back.
Yeah, if someone has Matt Adams blocked and they try to come on my stage, I'll remove them for a few moments so that Matt can come back on.
Me, James, John Lee, we have a rich history. That's why I'm devastated when James and John Lee have disagreements.
Would you tell
I'm
Darth
devastated.
Dawkins he needs to go to the audience for me, John? Would you say, hey, Darth, you need to go to the audience so I can get James in the room real quick?
If I noticed that you had messaged me the other day, if he's in the middle of a conversation with someone, as soon as the conversation would end, I'd say, hey, James wants to get in. Could you move to the audience? I wouldn't interrupt the conversation until it was over, but I would probably try to make arrangements. Or were you asking John Lee? James, John Lee's gotten addicted to poker. We've lost him.
James was asking you, Matt, if you would do that.
Yeah.
James already asked me. I told him I would.
I put John Maddox's profile in the chat.
Oh, there you go.
I'll check it out when I get through driving.
I can't ever click on anything in the chat. So when people put it in the chat, I just don't.
Yeah, I can't sometimes
I can't do
either. I
anything
don't
with it.
You'd have to copy and paste it or something.
I like every time I try like highlight or let me try. I'll figure it out.
JJ was right. You have to copy and paste it.
Could you say that first part again, please, for me?
I said JJ was right. You
That's
have to
good.
copy and paste it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Matt, I channeled you his profile. So you just have to look in your messages. And if you can message, if you can message him, I guess he doesn't have you blocked. It does seem a bit weird that he would block you. So I don't think I don't believe he has, but I guess there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, I don't think he does because, like I said, when the room showed up, his profile was one of the first ones I saw. So I don't think it's him.
Yeah. Anyway, you can check if it's just weird that after he left, you could see the room.
Well, according to the thing, it's still showing that he was in there. I didn't go into the room.
Yeah, but he's not in there. He left.
Oh, okay.
That list of who's in the room is always a bit outdated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it would even show that he's in the room, even if it's outdated. If he had me blocked, that's my.
Well, that could be the glitch part.
But Matt, if someone has you blocked, you can see their room. Isn't that how that works? No.
You know what's funny? You can see it in your hallway. until you click on it, and then it says it's not available, and then you can't see it anymore.
Oh, I've
Well,
never experienced that.
Well,
I
that's
think
happened
that's
to me
when.
before.
I think that's when. Yeah, well, no, no, I think that's something different. That's
It
when
hasn't been refreshed yet.
no, listen, just listen to me. Well, that's part of it, but the idea is that person who has blocked you isn't in that room yet, and you see the room. Then the person enters the room, and and as John said, it hasn't been refreshed in your hallway.
I see.
So then when you go to click on it, you can't go in it anymore. But you should have, if they were in there the whole time, you would have never saw the room.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, I did
And
just
then
go
when they
into the
leave,
room.
You can see it
you
again.
can see it, but it hasn't refreshed that they're no longer there.
Yeah, it refreshed and it showed that there was no John in there. And I did just go in there and he was not in there. So it's possible it could be him. I don't know why, because I've been in rooms with him and we've had good conversations. So that would surprise me.
All this blocking has to stop.
Tell Jack
John, did you
unstrike.
say he was on Facebook? John Maddox was?
JJ,
Jack?
I have unblocked
Yeah, he
everybody that I
was.
think that I've blocked except for the guy who kept talking about having sex with my daughter on stage.
That's fair.
I even unblocked Delano.
Jack and Detroit are like the worst culprits on Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Wait, what am I a bad culprit for?
Blocking people.
I have like 3 people blocked on the app.
Okay.
Who are the other two?
I get the impression it's more, but maybe I'm wrong. So what? It's true. It's JK. Who are the other two?
JK, Gavin.
That's fair.
On Discord, though, he has like 40 people blocked.
Jack, you're not
Probably
following me on
more.
Clubhouse, Jack. I just looked. You're not following me.
You want me to follow you?
He only follows Porgs.
I follow Pogs and Detroyer.
This motherfucker doesn't even follow me.
I'm gonna see who all Jack has followed. Well, he only follows 64 people. I guess I shouldn't feel insulted. He follows Kareem, the Muslim, Amid, Caleb Jackson, my author friend, Triple B, Lance, Daz, Danny, E, Max Planck, Nathan Ormond, Sasha Myers, Alberto. He follows Ty. He follows Ty, but not me. Okay.
Interesting. James, I would feel a little insulted
No, but
by
most
that.
of the people I follow are probably people who asked me to follow them.
You follow Hatem. Hatem, who's a friend of the Muslim metaphysician. And you follow Darth Dawkins. I understand that one.
I'd just like to clarify that when you said Alberto, you meant Albedo. Okay, good.
No, it probably means Alberto.
No, he calls Albedo Alberto. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
James, this is even worse. He follows Paul Watson. Oh, and he doesn't follow you. Isn't Paul Watson the one who just talks a load of gibberish?
I follow Paul Watson because I want to go after that guy.
Ah, okay.
Also,
Hey,
Jack follows like 75 people at least.
Jack, if I could get a Muslim who's really good at philosophy, like the Muslim metaphysician, would you be willing to like have a conversation with them on my YouTube channel about the Kalam or a contingency argument?
Yeah, maybe, but Detroyer might be a better person for that.
Well, now it says that Jack is following you, James, so I hope that's good.
Jack, is Detroit your go-to?
It doesn't show me that. I don't
when
see
you
it.
don't really want to do
Maybe
something
I
you
have
like.
to prove it.
Well, Detroit has a better stance on this than me. Why don't you talk to Detroit about it?
So
I think
Jack
I'm
is not
onto you.
following me. I haven't gotten the request to approve it yet. I don't see yet.
Wait, do you want me to follow you?
Says you are following it.
Ask Detroit to follow you now.
I did get a follow request from Gay Homie, so Ultra Gay Homie is following me now. Ken Keg is following me.
Oh, nice.
Felicia Johnson is following me. That sounds like an alt.
I have
Jack,
836 followers. MBD.
Jack, according to this list, you and I are both following Michael Fall.
Who's that?
Why would I follow Michael Fall?
I don't know, but according to this app, it says you are.
I mean, it would be crazy to follow him.
Well, I follow him. This says that you also follow him.
Sally, no one follows you because you never come on stage. You just like meme in the chat. I'm sure you seem quite knowledgeable, but we need to hear you. We need to, invest in your whatever you have to say. That's why no one follows you. But I followed you.
Who's this Sully person?
Yeah, he's complaining that no one's following him.
I don't see where it says that Jack follows Michael Fall anywhere.
The club deck?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I click on Jack on his profile, scroll down, it says you both follow these people. And you can click on that to produce a list
Yeah, I'm
of all the
seeing
people that you both follow.
I'm seeing all the names that he follows, and I'm not seeing the name Michael Fall. Of the 64 people, I'm
Oh,
not seeing the name.
it's Ike Fa.
Oh, okay.
Michael Fall is Ike Fa.
Okay.
Or lucky me.
John has 1,300 followers on this app. He is a very popular person, John. I only have 618.
Now that Albedo is here, tell us about the tag room.
What do you want to know?
Well, we saw G.I. Jew in there, so we wanted to know like how G.I. Jew was like trying to find ways to defend the first premise of the tag, so he could retract what he said to Tom.
I don't think he's trying to. I think he's giving up on what tag actually is.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think he's not a precept anymore.
Is that GI?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was. Yeah, well, that's good, I guess, but I bet he'll just run it on like, baby atheists or something.
Well, he thought what Tag was trying to say was the trivial statement that if Christianity is true, necessarily atheism is false.
Well, that's true, but that would still be trivially true, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we all know atheism is false. That's an easy one to just take and understand.
Mm-hmm.
Albedo, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy talking to Nick?
Nick K?
Nick K? Nick Doe?
Yeah, I used to have
Nicholas?
Yeah, Nick Doe.
Yeah.
A 5.
Really diplomatic, safe answer.
Just as a baseline, how much do you enjoy talking to Jay?
To who? JJ? 6.5.
You wound me, sir.
But when JJ...
I mean, that's good.
When JJ is out of the room, that's a 9, right?
That's the baseline. Silence is 9.
It's like if I come into this room and I say JJ is here, it's like if I see JJ is not here, it's like I like get an endorphin rush.
Endorphin rush.
Thank God, JJ. No, JJ. Yeah.
That's like a standing ovation, right?
Trying to think of something inflammatory to
JJ's
say back.
absence is like huge improvement to my quality of life.
What even is absence?
Yeah, it's kind of like a hole, right?
You're a hole.
Like, are there holes?
You're a hole. You know what's really strange to think about? Does a hole have parts? Hmm? How many holes does a straw have? Well, the great questions.
It depends if you bend it.
Obviously, 2, one at each end.
Oh no. There we go. Oh, speaking of holes.
Yeah.
Nothing
ever good
is
going to come
Doc
after
Innovation
that.
is here. I want to hear
Good.
Doc Innovation talk more about holes.
Oh no. No.
I'm following you, Doc Innovation.
Just go into a private room. Let's see if you really want to know. You could go into a room with him and Dr. Yang. You could hear them both out at once.
That is a great idea. I think that's going to happen soon.
I would bet many dollars that will never happen.
Soon, coming weeks, maybe coming week, start a new club, and all my favorites will be invited.
What are you going to call it?
Maybe like Parts in a Whole. I don't know. Maybe something like that.
I'm going to try and think of a good name.
The Maximally Great Clown Car, maybe? I don't know.
People explain things to JJ.
Tell me about it.
Maybe JJ defending the atheistic faith.
Well, that has its problems.
The point of this club is so JJ can talk to all the people that we won't let him talk to publicly. That's the idea.
Who won't you let JJ talk to?
Dr. Yang, assorted weirdos and cranks.
Assorted weirdos.
Maybe we just should call the club Assorted Weirdos.
I might.
Dr. Yang is funny though.
I disagree, but
when he's like babbling about is he's describing like his degree and not showing you his degree and then yelling at you for not having a degree, that's hysterical.
Yeah, I suspect he sounds a lot like a slightly less comprehensible Matt Yester.
he's
speaking
more
of
like
which,
he's more like a less comprehensible Gavin, because they do this like physics proves God bullshit.
Yeah, I can
No,
see that too.
what is amazing is that we have Matt Adams, who consistently graces his presence with us on a stage, because he is a debater on a high level who has done many high level debates, including against Dr. Josh.
Oh no. Did that really happen? Is that
Yeah, it's a real thing. Matt
watchable?
Adams, Dr. Josh on the Tart channel. Or
Are they
not
both
Tart
on
channel,
camera?
Tank channel. Yeah, both on camera. Matt Adams, Dr. Josh.
He's quite good on biblical
I
slavery. I assume that's what they debated.
I get a phone.
Yep, they talked about biblical slavery. Matt Adams beat Khalil Allah in the prayer debate. Talked to Khalil Allah about biblical slavery. Although his producer at the time, the atheist producer, was a real slime ball. And what I mean by that is they went through and after the debate, they re-edited the debate. And whenever Matt was talking about slavery, they like showed harsh images of slaves. So that if you're watching
Oh.
the reproduction of the video, it's just incredibly one-sided. Like I've never seen anybody go and re-edit a debate like that before.
Was that
Khalil has
West
a
that
big
did
day
that?
today, doesn't he?
I did not
Was
hear
that
that.
West? Was that West that did that, James?
Yes, it was Wes.
Is he
Isn't
still
today
working with
Khalil's?
Oz?
Can answer Matt first.
He both talked at the same time. I didn't hear either question.
I was asking if he's still working with Oz in the Oz Tart group.
He is. I don't hate Wes. I just think that it was in poor taste to edit those images and reproduce the debate and share it again like that on the channel. Like either Khalil's performance worked on its own or it didn't.
JJ, how about the Island of Misfit Toys for your club?
That's a good name.
That was from Matt, I think, or someone in the chat. That's very funny.
Well done, Matt.
It was me,
No, yeah, well
JJ's
done,
Island of
Matt.
Misfit Toys
Excellent.
Club.
See, I like that, but it's a little too. It's
on the nose.
Well, it's more like it's almost plagiarism. It'd have to be something like that, but not exactly.
Call it
What,
JJ.
what was
and
the
his
name?
Misfit Toys or something.
What was the name of the island that Pinocchio went to with the little boys that they all turned into jackasses?
That's a good question.
Michael Jackson. I mean Neverland Ranch.
Wow, that's
No,
racist.
no, wasn't. I'll Google it.
Oh, somebody backchanneled what they thought your question was. I'm not making any public thoughts or statements about the Khalil trial, nor do I know anything about what's going on currently.
So Pinocchio's island was called Pleasure Island.
That sounds like a JJ.
That's a great name for a club, isn't it?
JJ's Pleasure Island.
They just
You
don't
got to
know
keep your
what the
name in.
pleasure is. That's all.
That might have to be a separate club.
Just JJ's Pleasure Island, because that's really what you're making. You're making a place where you're going to get as much entertainment, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
Matt Adams is also debated on Modern Day Debate.
Yeah, I knew that. I think I saw one of those. Or it.
I was actually I was on Matt Adams' side because of a bunch of atheists complaining about biblical slavery, and I just think it's a really, really poor argument.
Yeah, I thought Haiti did so well that I wanted her to call up Matt Dillahunty and talk about how stupid it is for him to bring up biblical
which
slavery.
is not going to happen. But it's just mildly irritating when they think this is this. You've got the logical problem of evil, and they think this is the slam dunk. Well, God likes slavery. It's just so pathetic. You've literally got an argument showing that God can't exist, and they're doing some bullshit about, you know, why didn't God just ban slavery then? Huh? It's just so dumb.
I agree. I think it's a
Matt
dumb
Adams debated an atheist on my channel. His name was Scott. It was Is God the Foundation for Reality? He debated another atheist, Is the belief God in God reasonable? Now Matt has a chicken on his neck on this photo, and the atheist has a snake wrapped around his neck
Oh,
in the
wow.
photo.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's the guy who wants to debate the flood with me. I forget his name, but he wants to debate the biblical flood on your channel.
Oh, do you really want to do that?
to my individual preferences. But by this system, I also understand that everyone has their own subjective individual preferences. So I have to move that best or redefine that best slightly, theoretically speaking, at least, to try to get the biggest like set intersection of all of the individual preferences. How do you do that? You have
So,
people vote on their own individual preferences.
well, no, I think we should just make it simple. I gotta go. I'm gonna leave here and I'll just listen. But I think you can just make it simpler than that. Like, you just have to ask yourself, is the best society just that which is in accordance with my desires? Or is the best society that which is in accordance with the majority's desires? And because there is no further reference point, there's nothing else to really reference to decide what the best society is. It just has to be one of those two. And if you say it's the one, then you're not for democracy in this sense. And if you say it's the other, you're just not for people's personal objections to the majority.
I'm for democracy.
You guys be consistent and be willing to die on that hill, because you'll fall into the thought experiment that he was giving you about these extremist Christians who believe it's okay to kill atheists. Then that would be, now in that democracy, it would have to fit that particular appeal.
Right. If Christians were a majority and they wanted to institute a law that you should kill atheists, that would be the way it would be. It wouldn't make it the best society in my view, and I probably would leave, but I would still say, so be it, right? That's a democracy, and I'm for democracy.
Yeah, you're all for democracy. You're all for democracy, so long as it comports with your desires for morality.
Exactly.
Sound like what I just said?
Yeah.
That
I
is
mean, that just
that is the necessary and logical implication, because you're talking about democracy until this democracy conflicts with your personal beliefs.
seems like a pipe dream to me, but
And I
whatever.
just said that if they wanted to kill me, that would
Can
be
I make a quick comment here?
democracy, and I'm for democracy.
Yeah,
I'm
go
going to
ahead,
make a
Darth.
quick comment here. Okay, there already is, setting aside the recent Supreme Court decision. We have many states that have laws that permit the killing of some atheists. Okay, because according to atheists on the internet, babies are atheists. So in various states, it's legally to kill atheists, the small ones in the womb.
Exactly. That was fantastic.
I'm down with that.
I think
Yeah, kill those atheists. They gotta go.
I guess the same thing is true at the butcher mill too, because the cows lack belief in God. So I guess cows are atheists as well.
There are lots of laws on the books of states that would not be there if one had a democratic referendum about them. You know, they're just historical, or for whatever reason, democracy is thwarted in the prescribing of those laws. But which is why I'm for democracy.
Also, JT and G, I have to call out like a conceptualization that you guys are kind of presupposing that's kind of incoherent, as if Christianity and theocracy is not your individual preference, right? Only 2.3 billion Christians or something in the world, 1/3 of the world. Like, this is just a group of people born into a certain belief set,
Yeah,
and
that
you
might
guys
be true.
comprehend.
That might be true, but the distinction, the dissymmetry between us and you is we believe there is a fact of the matter independent of our desires.
Yeah,
I'd like to
your
point out
Exactly.
that
preference is instituting a society with that belief, but like, there's no way you're ever going to be able
No,
to
we're
demonstrate
saying
that belief is
we're
true.
saying there's a fact of the matter that grounds why we think that should be the case. You
You
guys
can
have no
call it
such
a
fact of the
fact.
matter.
I'd like to point out that a very large fraction, if not a vast majority of that 2.3 billion, are not people who would prefer to live in a Christian theocracy.
I mean, that's
So
That
fine.
too.
what?
Like, look, dude, that's fine. But to say something like, well, you can call it a fact of the matter is equivalent to saying you're wrong and I'm right. Like, it wouldn't it be interesting if we argued with you and just said, well, you're wrong given Christianity? Like, how interesting would the conversation be that we had with
Exactly.
you if we
You
said,
usually
hey,
do.
you're wrong because of the Bible. Like,
You,
you're
Well,
Well,
wrong because of the
GI, is
that
Bible.
that not
is
exactly.
in
exactly?
fact
You're
what
not even you're not even stillmaning our view and trying to do a legitimate internal critique. You're just saying, well, you guys just simply are arbitrarily stipulating something. You guys aren't
Yeah.
trying to go to scripture and consistently address where we're coming from. You're just saying, well, that's just what you guys are saying.
I was an
okay.
Orthodox Christian for 18 years. I think I've read enough
That
scripture.
doesn't mean a dang
Yeah,
thing
but
to
that's
me.
not
Yeah,
like the difference. Like in philosophical, like in my opinion, in debate formats, the things that are interesting are running internal critiques. And what I tried to do was just take your position and show from your specific position that there was some kind of problem. Now to turn that around and just say like, well, your position is false because my position doesn't accept it. Like that's
No,
Well,
I
that's
was
equivalent to
calling out
but
a
saying,
look. In
problem with your
fairness, that's what you
definitions,
guys
though.
do all the time. I mean, that
well, we shouldn't. Like, hey,
for
bro, look,
you, for
maybe we
Darth
do
and
that.
Tone and
Maybe we
Matt and all
do
these
that.
redefine all those people, the reason we're wrong is because they're right. It's because they know the truth,
No, we
and
say you
we.
guys.
In
You say
fact,
you
I had
got. We
somebody
say you
earlier
guys
today
refute
say,
yourselves,
"I don't
sir,
know," and the
sir,
fact that I didn't
we,
know got
sir.
said, "Well, then you're
We say
wrong
you
because you
guys.
don't know."
We say you guys refute yourselves on your own terms all the time. You guys to self-destruct on your own grounds, not on ours, on
With the
your own.
proposition that individual preference will still exist and sometimes conflict with the preference of a democracy, I don't think that's a contradiction at all.
I think individual preferences, I mean, it's predicated on education. So how well informed are
No,
people about their own?
you have no way to consistently use democracies to ground anything because you are functionally going to disagree with at least some democracies.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
Because
not the
the only
yeah,
acceptable democracy is the one that comports with your own personal desires.
Not true.
exactly.
That's not true.
So on your own terms, that's not the real reason why you would hold to something. It's not because of what the democracy says.
Yeah, and Ray, you can say that that's not true, but you've already accepted this.
No,
We've
but
gone through it
there's so
multiple
much
times.
like linguistic nuance that goes over your head. You
No,
asked me to
it's
define the
actually quite
best
simple.
society, and I say, okay, the best society would be one that like completely conforms to my individual views. Correct. Okay, moving on. Can I actually achieve that type of society? No. So what kind of society do I want to live in? A democratic one, because I think game theoretically speaking, it's going to get me most of the views I
No,
want.
but you immediately tank from that when the society disagrees with your fundamental ethical views
How so? Why can't I live in a society that disagrees with some of them? I already do.
because you think that society is wrong. On one end, you want to say that's the best society, but if the best society um, is adjudicating something that you disagree with, then you say it's wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
Ray,
like the way you guys are defining best society, the only real implementation of it would be me becoming a dictator and trying to like get every single thing I
No,
want.
we
It's kind
appeal
of
to what you said the best society was, which is
yeah,
a
no, no,
democracy. We didn't
we can
redefine
agree
nothing.
ton analytically speaking that the best society would be my individual preferences, but synthetically speaking, what's actually going to happen is not that. So like
We're
we can
not
come
talking
up with some
about
theory.
the practical grand scheme of things. That's literally not what we're talking about. This
yeah,
just shows you you're not following the flow of thought here at all,
I feel
or
like
you're
the most
purpose,
important takeaway
or
from
you're
this.
purposefully dodging the point because
I
you
think the
know
most.
it exposes the absurdity of your view.
I
yeah.
think the
We're
most
just
important.
pointing out the inconsistency between your personal preferences and then the assertions that are coming out of your mouth.
It seems to me the
Yeah,
most
like
important takeaway from this conversation, and I think we can all agree on this, is that Ray and I prefer democracy and you guys don't. And I think that means that you
Yeah,
guys
that's true.
prefer theocracy. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's true. But listen. I think we as Christians will be very charitable and we'll let you guys nuance your position and that kind of thing. I think all we're trying to say is like, there just straightforwardly is a contradiction with the proposition that the best society is that which is in accordance with the desires of the majority, and that society is best if it's in accordance with my desires. Like it's pretty trivial that both of those propositions are mutually exclusive. Do we agree with that so far?
Sorry, I went to write a work message.
In other
What are
words,
the two propositions?
the best society can't be you and not you at the same time and in the same sense.
Yeah, like the two propositions are on the table are this. The best society is that which is governed by the desires of the majority of the citizens, and it's one of its contraries being the best society is that which is in accordance with my own personal desires. Like, we understand that those positions are mutually exclusive. Is that correct?
they're not
Yeah.
necessarily, but they almost surely are mutually exclusive, and we prefer democracy.
No, it's not no almost about. They literally are, because you can't have them both at the same time and in the same sense.
You
You
could.
cannot
I mean, it's
instantiate a
possible.
you
It's
cannot
possible that the
instantiate a government to
majority
where
agree with me
both
on
your
everything.
you cannot instantiate a system of governance to where both your desires are law and the majority's standards are law.
Of course you can, if the majority agrees with
No,
me on
if
everything.
sir, we're talking about like, let's say you have a dictatorship. If what you say goes, that would be a dictatorship. But if what society says goes, that would be a democracy. You can't have
I
those
guess that would be
simultaneously happen at the same time.
I guess
I'm
that
just
would be
saying
the fix for this
you can
issue. The fix for
have.
the issue is that the perfect society would just be people who think exactly like you.
I'm
That
just
would be like
saying
the
it is
absolute perfect
possible.
society.
It is
I have a work
possible
meeting. I'll
that
be
the
back in 30.
majority could agree with me
Yeah,
on
no problem.
everything. It's not likely, but it is possible that the
Okay.
majority agrees with me on everything. That's all I'm saying. That is all
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying.
not the issue. That is literally not the issue. Can a democratic society and a dictatorship sort of a society exist literally at the same time in the same sense?
No, if you have somebody who gets to say what
Right.
happens, that's not a democracy.
It's going to be one or the other. The best society means
It can
what
be other
you
things
think.
too.
What you think. Not what you think. Not only should be law, but what is going to be actual law. Now, if you happen to agree with them and say, "Well," and I think this, and society happens to agree, that's not what we're talking about.
I don't know what we're talking about, frankly.
If look, if I happen to agree that uh, the Dominican Republic's laws are good in terms of how they forbid abortion, that doesn't mean that that's my basis for a good society.
And it doesn't
That,
mean they're
that just
right.
mean that just means I happen to agree with them.
Right.
If you happen to agree with society, that doesn't mean that that's your basis for a good society just because you happen to agree with it.
Right. It's not.
Okay? So the best society is going to come down to what you say goes or what society says goes. They cannot be true at the same time.